Just as the White Knight was about to battle the fierce dragon, the cocky player decided to skip the tutorial and dive right into the game. Suddenly, the young guy started to fall as the system prompted him to create his character. The distracted player hurried to finish his avatar since he had to lock in a permanent name. After his first choice got rejected, he settled on the name Piercing River. And just like that, the young guy fell like a meteor into the newbie village. He landed safely but in flames with his clothes all torn up. When he landed, the main character spotted an old man ready to give him his first quest. The young guy politely offered to help, but the old man deemed him unworthy. This made the young man mad since the quest giver was underestimating him. To prove himself, the old man tasked him with taking out some slimes at the village entrance. The smiling slimes looked pretty weak and harmless. So, our hero jumped at the chance to take on this level D mission. Piercing River was now set to take down a slime to prove his worth. He summoned his stick, the only thing in his inventory, and whacked the monster with all his might, dealing 5 points of damage. Piercing River was shocked by his weak damage, which only made the slime mad. The angry monster countered, hitting him for a whopping 50 points, leaving him hurting and knocked back. Piercing River couldn't believe the huge gap in power between him and the little monster, so he figured it was best to run away from the furious slime. Back in the village, the young guy decided to check his stats, thinking he might be bugged. But after a closer look, he realized he really couldn't take down a slime with his weak stats and skills. Piercing River wanted a quick fix to his problem before the other players finished the opening animation and jumped into the game. But then he noticed something. He spotted a soldier from the novice village who looked to be above level 5. Piercing River politely asked for help, but the soldier quickly turned him down. The surprised young man was taken aback to see the soldier acting like the elder, making him wonder if everyone in the novice village was this unfriendly. The soldier said, adventurers had to figure out how to beat the slimes themselves and wouldn't help Piercing River for even 10 gold coins. But the player quickly caught on, pointing out he was the only adventurer around. So the protagonist offered to pay 1 gold coin, take it or leave it. The soldier then remembered the village chief, telling them to raise their prices since players would be arriving soon, and only one who was willing to pay double was around. So he called Piercing River back, as he decided to take the offer, making the protagonist grin devilishly. So Piercing River asked the soldier to teach him everything he knew. He learned basic sword skills at D rank and a C rank combo from the village, Soldier Karo. The first skill was best with swords and weaker with other weapons, but had room for improvement. The second was a quick combo with a short cooldown that packed a punch. After that, the soldier finally caught his breath and demanded his payment from the young adventurer. But Piercing River, just starting out, didn't have the cash to pay up and said he'd settle it once he had the funds. The soldier got angry, thinking the protagonist was messing with him, but Piercing River insisted he was broke. So Kara suggested they make a contract saying he could take the player's life if he didn't get paid within a week. With a smile, Piercing River offered another gold coin for the soldier's gear. After some back and forth, the protagonist finally got the gear he wanted. He ended up with a sword and some basic armor, the weakest rank, followed by bronze, silver, gold, dark gold, spirit, earth, and heaven ranks. With that, the young man boosted his defense and offense, deciding to take on the slimes again. Just then, a thunderstorm rolled in. Something started coming down from the sky. All the players showed up in the novice village. Piercing River was shocked to see how smoothly the others landed in the village after the opening animation. Unlike him, he rushed outside the village to seize the opportunities. Once again, Piercing River faced the slimes and used his basic combo on one, dealing 28 damage. The young man was thrilled with his improved damage. Suddenly, the angry slime struck back, dealing 12 damage. Piercing River was pleased with his better defense before landing a killing blow on the slime, earning his first 10 EXP. Piercing River was amazed by his last hit that dealt 66 damage to the slime, feeling overjoyed by how well his skills and gear worked. He then started slashing through the blue monsters. With that, our hero finally hit level 2, boosting his stats. Happy with the results, Piercing River decided to keep farming. After 2 hours, players began complaining about how tough it was to take down a single slime. This made the old man look down on them for being useless when someone called him. It was none other than the proud Piercing River who had successfully completed his task. He tossed his bag on the ground, revealing a ton of slime cores, but the village chief just wasn't impressed. So, the frustrated hero who finished his first quest asked for more tasks. Then the old man dared the newbie adventurer to take down the 10 great demon gods. This SSS rank mission required taking out the 10 toughest dark faction enemies in a week for a big reward, but if Piercing River failed, he'd owe 100 gold coins. The hero was furious about this crazy mission that had to be done in a week, especially after the last one was just about slaying slimes. This led the village chief to compare him to the other clueless players. Piercing River thought it over for a bit, before agreeing to this crazy mission. He also insisted that the old man give him the heirloom first, since failing this quest would hurt. So the old man handed him a scroll with a big grin, praising his smarts, but really, it was all part of the village chief's plan to make a ton of money, no matter what happened to Piercing River, who would be hunted by the Light faction after losing lots of prestige. As the mission kicked off, the hero got the S-rank tool, Rage of the Fire God, which would deal 5,000 Zuzan damage in a 200-meter radius when the scroll was destroyed. Then, in the forest, a level 5 monster called Grey Wolf charged at him, biting and dealing 103 damage. But the hero quickly fought back and landed the final blow. After taking down the common monster, he earned 80 EXP and leveled up to 4, boosting his stats again. His win over the Grey Wolf only got him 3 bronze coins. Realizing the scroll was useless and the time limit was tough with his speed, he thought about quitting. But to his shock, the system warned him that quitting now would turn his in-game debt into a real one of $5,100,000, just as a pack of Grey Wolves spotted him. Feeling outmatched, the hero decided to run away. He hid behind a bush, ready to ambush a lone wolf, then charged at it and took it down. Piercing River was sure no one would hear his cries for help. 2 hours passed and he managed to take out several wolves. To his surprise, he hit level 7 and got the Wolfskin Wrist Guard, which gave him 2 defense points. Suddenly, he spotted something nearby, the powerful bronze rank boss, Demonic Wolf King, who was the bodyguard of a necromancer. Piercing River was blown away by the beast's insane health and thought about retreating to fight it later when he was stronger. But after some thought, he realized that taking on the bronze rank boss would give him an edge over the other players. So the hero charged straight at the beast, but the evolved hound quickly noticed him and got ready to take on its skinny attacker. Piercing River tried to dodge, but the monster's claws hit him, taking away 219 health points. At that moment, he understood how big the gap was between his power and the werewolves, and the fierce beast charged again. But our hero was shocked to see a Grey Wolf attacking him from behind. The hound's bite caused 78 damage, leaving Piercing River in serious pain. Suddenly, he grabbed the beast by the neck and used it as a meat shield. This move shocked the Wolf King, who couldn't hurt his own kind. The clever protagonist knew the wolf's morals, so he used the smaller beast as a shield while unleashing a combo on its king. The boss found himself in a tough spot and tried to catch the young man off guard. Once again, the regular Grey Wolf got in the way. The main character kept attacking while staying out of harm's reach. After 2 hours, the Wolf King started to transform as its health dropped to half, making Piercing River fear the worst. He worried that the powerful Wolf King was leveling up, giving even a common monster more strength. Then, the demonic Wolf King unleashed Bloodlust, boosting its speed and attack power while losing 0.2% HP per minute. The young man was amazed by the small cost, but then the wolf activated Wolf King Intimidation, slowing down the player's attack and movement for 30 seconds. The Wolf King charged and took out the Grey Wolf Piercing River was using as a shield. The young man couldn't believe the Wolf King used his skill, rendering Claw, to wipe out his own kin in one hit. This left the Wolf King unable to move for 5 seconds due to overwhelming sadness. The young man seized the chance and attacked fiercely. Just as the 5 seconds were up, the demonic Wolf King struck with its claws, dealing 310 points of damage to the player. The young man couldn't believe that one hit from the evolved hound nearly finished him off. Seeing this, he decided to run, thinking he could outrun the powerful beast. But the boss quickly caught up. Piercing River dodged the deadly claws and struck the monster's stomach with his sword. He started to think that the only way to take down the beast was to let its own debuff do the work. He had to be super careful since one hit from the demonic Wolf King would mean game over, so he activated his basic sword skills. After 5 hours, Piercing River landed a finishing blow on the boss that had lost most of its health. Finally, Piercing River defeated his first boss, the demonic Wolf King, earning 2,000 EXPs and 500 prestige points. The young man quickly leveled up to 10. As the first player to beat a boss, he got tons of rewards and decided to announce his achievement for more prestige. Everyone was amazed, especially since most were still battling slimes. This caused Piercing River's notifications to flood with friend requests, but he rejected them all, since he didn't want to befriend anyone. Once that was settled, he went to check what he got from the dying boss when someone approached him, asking about the wolf's killer. This person was a necromancer with an unknown level. Seeing that the culprit was just an adventurer, the Dark Magician decided to finish what his demonic Wolf King puppet couldn't. Piercing River recognized the spellcaster from the wolf's description and felt the power of his opponent. But the protagonist still had a trick up his sleeve. The necromancer was close to hitting spirit rank, saying there was no point in the newbie resisting his fate. But the young man didn't seem fazed by the magician's high rank. This made the necromancer, who could easily take out the adventurer despite his injuries, see him as a fool for not fearing death, since he could respawn. Piercing River then complimented the high mage for knowing about his immortality before asking for one last favor before he took him out. This caught the dark spellcaster's interest. Piercing River wanted to check out the info panel for the Dark Gold rank necromancer. But when he saw how bad his hidden condition actually was, the wizard panicked and decided to take out the young man right away. So Piercing River showed him the heirloom given by the old man. The necromancer was shocked to see such a powerful weapon in the hands of a newbie. The protagonist seized the moment to threaten the Dark Magician. Piercing River tried to turn the tables and mugged the guy, but the necromancer knew the young man wanted to see if the scroll could finish him off. So the magician dared him to take the risk and try to kill him, thinking he wouldn't be bold enough. But the protagonist confidently said it didn't matter since he'd come back to life. He started tearing the forbidden curse scroll in front of the necromancer, who was too weak to survive the attack, when suddenly he asked him to stop. The Dark Magician wanted to make a deal because he was scared for his life. In exchange for sparing his life, the necromancer had to give him everything valuable he had. Piercing River was impressed by the NPC's smarts. But according to the injured man, the game's rules didn't allow such free transactions. This made the player feel weird when the character mentioned the game rules. Daniel, the necromancer, suggested making the young man his pupil and invited him to the Dark faction, turning him into a traitor to his original side and activating the Dark prestige system. Piercing River was surprised by this unexpected offer, but the young man didn't buy a word of it, saying he just wanted to drag him into his mess and refused to give up his balanced warrior profession. So the mage promised he'd do his best as a mentor and give him the hidden profession Dark Swordsman, warning that if he broke his word, he'd be punished by the God of Vows. Piercing River was amazed to see that the hidden profession was way better than his current one. With those stats, one attack point would deal 10 points of damage. The young man started to imagine himself in that role and grew fond of the idea. So, with a big smile, he agreed to have Daniel, the necromancer, as his teacher. With that, our hero joined the Dark faction as a Dark Swordsman, activating the Dark prestige system and losing his light privilege as he began his transformation. Basic swordsmanship and combos turned into Dark swordsmanship and hysterical killing strike. As the first player to switch his class, the system rewarded him with stat points, fame points, and the rare Ring of the Undead. Piercing River wondered if he could get his human form back, but the Dark Magician assured him that he would once he got stronger and mastered his evil aura. So he decided to help him hide his demonic form for now. This way, the young man would keep his human look for 3 days, but the Dark Mage noticed how worried his student was. Piercing River started complaining about his master being just a Dark Gold ranked necromancer, which made his future look pretty bleak. This cocky remark annoyed Daniel. He pointed out that since the Dark faction respected power, his student could become a disciple of one of the Dark gods if he showed potential, which got the young man excited. While teasing his student's name, the teacher said he had to pass a test to prove his loyalty by killing 100 players. The protagonist thought this task was way too hard, but the master insisted that with his status as a disciple and his new class, he should be more than capable of handling it. Daniel then said he needed 3 days to heal, and asked the young man to pass the test to leave the novice village. But the protagonist was more curious about what would happen to his spawn point now that he was seen as a traitor. With a grin, the necromancer said his new student must have lost the favor of the god he betrayed. The young man couldn't believe his eyes, but his mentor reassured him that he'd now be under the ancient demon god's grace after betraying the life divinity, which intrigued him. The mentor said more details would come as he progressed, claiming he'd surely surpass him with his new class as they said their goodbyes. In the end, the protagonist was thrilled with the dark faction and its perks. Piercing River quickly focused on boosting his stats as his first two skills got upgraded by dark power. The protagonist decided to test his new powers on the nearby gray wolves while collecting more gear. He started attacking the hounds and managed to get the wolfskin soft cap. Piercing River now had a full set of gear and planned to sell the extra parts for cash in the novice village. Suddenly, a mysterious guy shoved him aside. He was shocked to see a bunch of players attacking the gray-haired wolf. One of them declared the area as the Alliance of Heroes territory and tried to force him out. But the hero found it disgusting that he was there first and argued it would be unfair for solo players if guilds started claiming spots. The guy didn't want to hear it and insisted the place was theirs now. Seeing this, the young man decided to stand up to the Alliance of Heroes to defend his rights. He started recording the fight as the other players attacked him. But to their surprise, their attacks barely hurt the solo player. With one swing, he easily took down the two players. The Gum Man was amazed by his new dark powers, watching how normal players were easily crushed by him. He was even more shocked to see that taking out other adventurers now earned him EXP. Seeing their teammates go down, they all charged in together. But they had no idea that's exactly what the Dark Swordsman was waiting for, and that kicked off his rampage. Piercing River was super fast and used that speed to slice one of the players right in half. Just like that, a bunch of players got taken out. The last one couldn't believe what he just saw. Piercing River joked that his 17th kill was left speechless by how good-looking he was. After he finished recording, he claimed the heroes started it all. Later that night, the protagonist went back to the village to sell off his extra gear. He offered his Grey Wolf's equipment for real cash. The players recognized him as Piercing River, the strongest in the game, and saw his common gear as rare since the game was brand new. They started making offers, but he said he'd only sell to the highest bidder. A guy named Soaring Dragon offered $10,000 for each item and invited him to join the Dragon Clan Guild. But the first player wanted to stay solo to keep his dark faction identity hidden. The man suggested adding the protagonist as a friend so he could sell to their guild first, but was shocked to find out the merchant was actually the first player. They ended up making a good trade. After that, in the real world, the young man finally took off his VR headset. He let out a sigh. He managed to sell his stuff for $40,000. So, he decided to upload the video of him taking down the heroes. Once it was up, the comments blew up with people arguing about the video. The employee told the guild leader that the Dark Swordsman was provoking them in the comments. This made the guy in charge really mad. Piercing River was daring them to take him on. The man said the solo player was too cocky for challenging a whole guild alone. So, the head of the heroes decided to gather all his members to take the young man down and even called for new players to join their guild. The angry man also put a $50,000 bounty on Piercing River for every time he dies, no matter how many times. The employee thought his boss was going overboard, but the man insisted the game was a huge business chance, so they needed to be bold. The assistant figured his boss needed 20 more guys, but the greedy one wanted fame for his guild, so he asked for 100 men to take down the best player. Later, they managed to find their target. This got Bloodboil, the protagonist, super excited for EXP. The guys charged in all at once, going for the huge bounty on the young man's head. But they had no idea Piercing River was ready to show off his dark powers. 4 guys rushed in together, then suddenly vanished. A wicked grin spread across the young man's face as he easily took down 2 players. Seeing this, the regular players finally got why the reward was so high, which made them nervous since their levels dropped each time they respawned. But the guildmaster pumped them up, reminding them of their numbers, and that they'd drop a ton of loot when they died, considering how many he'd already killed. Piercing River said he wasn't sure if his sin value went up, but his EXP bar definitely did, so he dared them to come at him one by one. Since Eternal Heaven was a new game, most players were still level 2 and pretty weak, not even having changed classes yet, making them easy targets. A wild look filled the young man's eyes as he started tearing through the enemy ranks. This made one guy question the hero's sanity. Players tried to stab him, but they only managed to deal 1 point of damage. This weak attack cracked the protagonist up. 20 minutes went by, and the Alliance of Heroes was thrilled to see the Dark Swordsman's HP almost gone, which boosted their spirits. But their cheers were short-lived when Piercing River's health was restored as he hit level 11. Everyone looked disappointed, wondering why he leveled up by slaughtering them. So the guildmaster claimed the young man must have used rewards from taking down the demonic Wolf King, insisting their numbers were enough to finish him. With that, the Alliance of Heroes charged at him again, thinking a special item helped him level up. These empty excuses really amused our protagonist. He kept fighting, just 26 kills away from passing his loyalty test to the Dark faction. Finally, after 15 minutes, the Dark Swordsman took out his 100th player, earning recognition from his new faction. Piercing River was pumped to have passed the test. Still, the young man wanted to keep the fight going since it was a great way to farm. The guildmaster wasn't discouraged and was actually impressed by Piercing River, who kept his energy up despite facing their huge numbers. After 5 minutes, the hero's health was almost gone again, boosting the player's morale. But the protagonist kept smiling as he hit level 12 and restored his health once more. With his demonic grin, Piercing River couldn't help but enjoy the ongoing slaughter. The alliance of heroes was left confused as the young man kept evolving while fighting them. The protagonist then taunted his enemies to run away while he streamed the fight, risking their reputation. This made the guildmaster panic, thinking the hero was still feeding off the rewards from the bronze rank boss. Seeing how dire things were, the leader of the hero alliance had to call for a retreat. With that, the guys ran off with their tails between their legs. Piercing River took the chance to grab the weapons left behind. The protagonist was thrilled with how he jumped from level 10 to level 12. After this, fight. Since his sin value was still 0, he figured taking out players from the other side wouldn't hurt it. Then, Piercing River got an urgent message. The system alerted him that his master Daniel was about to be killed, and if he died, Piercing River would lose 50,000 Dark Faction prestige points. Not wanting to stay stuck in the newbie village forever, he rushed to save the one who could get him out. Daniel the Necromancer was trapped against the wall. The old man wanted to take down the Dark Mage with a big bounty to enter the Light Vatican and learn more. The Light Mage revealed he had been tracking the Necromancer for a while. Daniel, cornered, said the fight's outcome was still up in the air and that the spirit rank old man didn't scare him. Suddenly, both spellcasters noticed something coming their way. It was none other than Piercing River. The old man was shocked to see the adventurer. Our protagonist also recognized the Light Mage as the mysterious leader of Namabus village. Piercing River compared the pyromancer to his master, noting how mysterious his powers were. The Flamecaster was surprised to sense dark energy from the young man, worried he had switched sides. Seeing this, the old man decided to take out the master and drag the pupil to the Light Vatican, which would definitely earn him the title of envoy. Piercing River asked his teacher if they could take down the old man, but the necromancer sarcastically said that his slim chances of winning were ruined by his pupil's arrival, claiming their only way out was for Piercing River to distract the pyromancer while he cast a teleport spell that would take over 20 seconds. The hero thought it was cruel for his teacher to make him use his best weapon for himself before asking for something. Piercing River agreed to help his mentor only if it was set up as a mission with a nice reward at the end. This irony annoyed the Dark Mage. With that sorted, the young man was ready to face the old pyromancer. Watching the two of them come up with a plan in front of him left the old man triggered. Piercing River then threatened the man with the very scroll he gave him. The angry pyromancer, starting to regret his choice, reminded the kid that he was the original owner of the scroll, and it couldn't affect him. As he tore up the scroll, the young said it was a gift from an old man who dreamed of defeating demon gods like the pyromancer. With that, the curse's power was unleashed, hitting the old mage, who struggled to handle such a strong spell. Just then, the teleportation circle lit up as the necromancer activated it. And with that, Piercing River vanished along with his master. Soon after, the system alerted players about the protagonist's betrayal, saying anyone who took him down would get rare items and unlock a hidden class. A bright light appeared, and the little bunny couldn't believe his eyes as teacher and student showed up on the Blue Wind Plains map. At that moment, the young man learned that everyone knew about his betrayal. He was sure players would come after him, especially with such a huge reward for taking him out. Having left the village, he broke his deal with the soldier, meaning he'd be hunted by him. Plus, since he attacked the old man, he faced the consequences of their deal. So the young man lost his precious coins, and his level dropped to 1. Seeing this, he angrily went to claim his reward from his teacher. The necromancer assured him he'd definitely be rewarded for being his student and savior. After completing his mission, Piercing River got 100,000 EXP and the S-rank skill called Vicious Trample. His level, which had reset to 1, started rising quickly and finally hit level 14. The young man was excited to unlock the rare talent too. The S-rank Evil Trampling is a well-known skill on the continent, used by evil beings to attack their target and humiliate them, while focusing their power in their feet. Even though the humiliating skill was pretty weak, Piercing River found it super handy. It had been forgotten over time, but the necromancer got it by chance. But since he was a mage with a weak body, he decided to give the talent to his young student to help him in the faction. This caught the young protagonist's interest since the talent was weak and didn't rely on weapons, so the master explained that even the strongest of their kind wanted to learn evil trampling. Seeing this, the greedy young man was happy and asked for more rewards, which annoyed his master, who thought he wanted compensation for the used forbidden scroll. But Piercing River insisted he just wanted to get stronger. With that, the master said his pupil should train without relying on weapons, so he decided to take him somewhere safer since these planes didn't belong to any faction. The necromancer was weakened, which made him look for a spot under the demon god's protection. After an hour, the master and student reached the barren lands. Piercing River watched as his teacher struggled to move. The dark mage explained he needed 2 days to rest since he was almost recovered before giving medicine to his pupil, saying the monsters here were great for training. The young man thanked his teacher for this gift that would help him recover 500 HP every 10 seconds. So, Piercing River accepted the C-rank mission from Daniel to kill 500 demonic lizards. After a bit, the protagonist found his level 18 target, marked by its bad temper. The demonic lizards were way stronger than the wolf boss our hero faced before. But since he had gotten stronger, he figured he could handle attacking the smaller ones. With that, the protagonist started to give off a dark aura, then quickly charged at the demonic lizard, ready to take it down. With one use of evil trampling, the hero hit the creature for 1869 damage and froze it for 2 seconds. After that, the young man unleashed a flurry of sword slashes on the demonic lizard. Seeing this, the monster tried to bite the young man's leg, dealing 402 damage. But the smiling Piercing River didn't flinch, killing his first demonic lizard and earning 500 EXP when suddenly a swarm of lizards attacked. Realizing this, the young man thought it was safer to put some distance between him and the monsters. After a few minutes, he managed to take down all the beasts when he suddenly got a call from dragons flying 10,000 miles away. He told the protagonist that many players were hunting him. As the young man picked up the little loot from the monsters, the man suggested selling his account. This made the young man think it could be a trap to kill him, and that his account would vanish if he got killed, so he quickly refused. Even though a tempting offer of 20,000 was on the table, it was too risky to destroy his account. But the greedy guy wanted more, and Sobi turned him down again since the risk was way too high. The man then mentioned a huge bounty on the hero's head, saying he'd lose his perks if they took him out. So Piercing River reminded the guy why he had a bounty in the first place, and the man decided to end the call. Just then, our hero offered to sell him some gear. The man agreed, and bought the gear for 30,000. The protagonist thought that was a fair price and accepted, telling the man to send a friend to pick up the stuff, but he had to pay up front. Hearing this, the man agreed and hung up, leaving the merchant to keep slaying demonic lizards until the middleman showed up. So our hero charged ahead, spending his time taking out the devilish reptiles. He finally leveled up to level 15. Suddenly, his human disguise faded away, unlocking his power class as he gained the talent known as the Power of Death. This new passive let the Dark Swordsman heal 1,000th of his life per second in battle and 0.5% while resting, which made the ambitious player really happy. After getting paid for the sold gear, the young man gave the buyer the hidden spot for the merchandise. In this game, if white tier gear is hidden, it loses its owner in a day, bronze in 3 days, and silver in 7, as the system reminded him. With that sorted, the young man went back to his monster hunting, and after an hour, he managed to slay 93 demonic lizards. Piercing River was thrilled to see the dying creature drop some gear. The Dark Swordsman got sandy boots, perfect for desert adventures, but they needed him to be at least level 16 to wear them. Seeing this, the young man decided to keep playing and level up when he was suddenly interrupted. A voice from the real world said the hero didn't show this kind of dedication even while studying for his college entrance exam, asking him to stop the game to eat. Meanwhile, in the real world, a man apologized for underestimating the protagonist, who had taken down 100 players by himself. He then took responsibility in front of Tu for this big failure, but Tu said it wasn't the guy's fault since he was dealing with solo players who wouldn't listen. He told him to keep doing his thing, so the man politely stepped away. Chu Yu, feeling frustrated, claimed the young man would be hunted by tons of players. Then in the game, Piercing River logged back in, only to be hit by a tail that sent him flying and dealt 10 damage. The surprise attack annoyed the young man. He was now up against the bronze tier boss, the Demonic Lizard King, a real menace. Since his foe was just a bronze tier boss, the hero was sure he could take it down. So, He charged right at the demonic Lizard King. The protagonist quickly used evil trampling, hitting the bronze tier boss for 1,073 damage and freezing it for a moment. Piercing River was shocked and let down by the low damage when suddenly the nasty lizard started glowing green. This made him a target of the Lizard King's toxic skin, causing him to lose 500 HP in 10 seconds. The protagonist had to use the medicine his master gave him. So the young man charged again, hitting the boss on the head for 575 damage before trying to slice it with his dark blade, leaving the monster in pain. The demonic Lizard King then decided to strike back, swinging its tail at him, but the player easily dodged it. The determined young man was set on getting revenge on the giant lizard. After a few minutes, Piercing River finally took down the level 20 bronze tier boss. The dying boss dropped a ton of silver coins, and the player was pumped about the gear he might get. The young man couldn't believe his luck when he got the bronze tier Yellowstone armor, perfect for desert ambushes, and the Demon's Stone staff, a treasure for new mages. But since the armor had a high level requirement and the staff was useless for him as a swordsman, he decided to sell them. The man argued that the level requirement was too high for anyone in the guild, but the protagonist convinced him otherwise. In the end, the man offered him 50,000 since it was just early game gear, which the seller happily accepted and asked to send someone to pick it up. Piercing River was excited about the fortune Eternity had for him, especially since he made 100,000 so quickly. He then decided to hunt some demonic lizards to finish the mission from the Dark Magician. He started taking down the demonic beasts one by one until he finally hit level 16, meaning he could now wear the boots he got earlier. The player's avatar was almost fully equipped now. Soon after, in the real world, our hungry hero decided to order food when he got a text from someone named Wong Kai. Seeing his old friend from university teasing him as usual, he asked to meet at their usual spot. So, our hero walked through the big city and spotted someone waving at him. Wong Kai, happy to see him, immediately offered his old friend a job. Wong Kai offered our hero a chance to be a pro player. He talked about how Han's skills should be used well and mentioned a studio he was working with that wanted to make a big splash in Eternity. But our hero quickly turned it down. This made Wong Kai think Han didn't trust him, so he promised he wouldn't betray him and mentioned a nice salary of $1,123 a month. He added that Han's talent could easily earn him 10,000 yuan. So the protagonist clarified that he didn't want to work for or with anyone. This got Wong Kai curious and made him realize his old friend was already playing Eternity. Han shared how stunning the game's graphics were, calling it a second world that was hard to resist. Wong Kai quickly asked for his username to add him as a friend, but Piercing River wanted to keep it private. It was safer since every player in the game was out to get him. This led the young man to think his old buddy was wanted in the second world. Then, Wong Kai suddenly remembered something. He revealed a secret. Once a player hits a certain level, they unlock access to a hidden realm. Unsure, Wong Kai explained that the game creators set it up so that the realm opens after reaching a level to test the player's skill. Wong Kai got this valuable info because he joined a big studio that was keeping an eye on the game. With that, the young man decided to head back to work. Soon after, in the desolate lands of the second world, something caught the necromancer's eye. Daniel was surprised to see a student back so soon. The shocked student, who was working himself to the bone, immediately asked the dark mage for a reward. This dark mage was pretty nice to his students, so he got 25,000 EXP and a silver tier equipment storage ring. With that, our hero leveled up again, hitting level 17. Piercing River was thrilled to receive a silver tier item from his master. This ring could boost the user's storage by 20 slots. Our hero then asked his master about talents in the game, which piqued his interest. Daniel said it was normal for players to ask about this, since he and others hadn't picked their talents after a few days, which intrigued the student. He explained that players are as strong as the original inhabitants of this world and get an hour to choose a talent after the trial. Han was impressed, but Daniel pointed out it wasn't enough since he'd only find low-level talents like his, giving him a small chance to double the medicine he makes. The necromancer mentioned a talent in the light faction called Sword Heart that boosts a swordsman's final damage by 80%. This made the protagonist think this talent was S rank, but his master corrected him, saying it was S rank, the highest in Eternity. Piercing River asked if there was a rank above S, but his master said no. There were fewer than 5 people in the whole continent with talent at this rank, since there are 6 ranks from D to SS. but the master reassured him not to worry because he had already given him an S-rank skill to crush his enemies, which would also help his allies. He explained that the standard for original inhabitants was silver tier, but the key part was power levels, which is why different people could access the secret realm at different levels. As he grabbed his staff, he said more would be revealed once Piercing River got stronger. So, to the student's surprise, the master decided to give him the blessing of the demon god. After a long wait, our hero would finally get this blessing that could replace the player's ability to respawn. With that, Daniel and the necromancer started chanting the spell before using it on him. As he regained his evil form, the system told him that the demon god's protection would now let him gain titles, which disappointed our hero. The system then told him he had gained the title of the Fallen for betraying his original faction, which doubled his final HP. His avatar's description now showed his increased life, and how his death would help the adventurers of the Light faction. He was really happy with the outcome, comparing himself to a final boss in the game, and realizing that his HP would double from now on. He finally understood why bosses have so much HP. Since Light faction players would be revived and keep leveling up, the game had to balance things by making their rivals tougher to beat, which is why the protagonist who joined the dark side could level up while being as strong as a boss. Daniel asked if the power of his demonic deity impressed his young disciple, and he happily confirmed it. The student was a bit worried, since he and his newly healed master needed a place to stay, so the dark magician decided to take him along. Daniel told his pupil that he's more important than he looks. However, the young man found his way of showing off pretty strange. And so our heroes set off as they entered the City of Darkness. This Tier 1 city was once the City of Light, but fell under the Dark faction ruled by the 10 demon gods, making it a battlefield since the Light faction wanted it back. The door opened for the city's ruler and his newest disciple. Piercing River was surprised to learn about his master's position, so Daniel explained he had it for half a year, and because of his title and power, he broke through to the Spirit tier. This shocked the young man because it meant the Necromancer was actually a Dark Gold tier boss originally, and he had become the lord of a Tier 1 city. From what little he knew, cities were divided into 5 tiers. From 4-tier villages to super cities, with 1 in each server, and main cities needing at least an Earth tier to be conquered. The skeleton soldiers seemed to notice their master returning. The deputy city's head had also returned, who was actually a Gold tier boss with hidden stats known as the Undead Knight, Cantor. Cantor immediately bowed to his lord and master. But Dark Swordsman was confused, since even with Daniel and the Undead Knight, the Light faction should have been able to make this city the first to fall. The ruler quickly helped his servant up, thanking him for his hard work. The teacher then introduced his pupil to the undead. Cantor greeted the young man, saying that great potential was in him, judging by his demonic aura. He mentioned that the continent had never seen a weak Dark Swordsman before, and then politely excused himself. Piercing River looked like he had something on his mind. He wondered if the Dark Mage was scared since his territory was pretty close to the Light faction's lands. But Daniel bragged that he didn't fear death because he was a necromancer. The young man was actually pretty scared for his short life. But the master knew what he was thinking, and explained that even if they weren't directly part of the Dark faction, necromancers and their undead were feared by the Allites. This reminded him of a game he played before. Everyone on the continent feared the undead, and he had gotten everything he wanted from the city. Daniel wasn't afraid of death since he only had one goal to achieve. Still, the teacher assured him that his title wouldn't hurt him, but would actually help him out. The student asked for more details. The Dark Mage explained that both the Light and Dark factions were about to enter a legendary battle, so he should use the time and resources left to help his pupil train and improve. This realistic talk made the young man wonder if his master was a real person or just an NPC. Even though Daniel couldn't give him gear for free, he had other ways to help Piercing River get stronger, like dealing with a swarm of dark energy mice attacking their soldiers. But the player was confused because those corrupted beasts should belong to the Dark faction. The ruler then explained that wild beasts consumed by demonic energy would go crazy and attack everything except their own kind, no matter their faction. Some knowledge wouldn't help Han, so he should focus on leveling up. Since his class was feared by enemies, he'd lose his chance to grow once he was noticed. With that, our hero started his mission to kill 500 rats, or deal with the source of the problem, but he had no idea where to begin. Stuffy went up to a skeleton asking for directions, but the offended NPC got angry since Piercing River misgendered her. The shocked young man, who couldn't see the difference, asked her again using the right pronouns. She shyly explained how the demonic rats could be found north of the city and timidly added that they like to dig inside her body, making her feel sad for her lover, leaving the young man speechless. With that, he set off, and soon he faced the enemy. The level 17 Pierce River stumbled upon a huge swarm of demonic rats. Unfortunately for him, all the pests were at a higher level. The hero started to fear the worst, thinking that when he attacked the first rat, the others would swarm him. But when they all began to run away, he was surprised to learn that the system said the demonic beasts were scared of the evil aura in his body. So he chased after them and decided to use his S-tier skill, smashing the ground beneath them. The player found out that the terrified pests wouldn't dare to hurt him, and he began to slash at them relentlessly. An hour later, the young man was still attacking them. After 2 hours, one of the rats finally dropped a piece of equipment. Piercing River got some bronze black iron wrist guards that needed level 20, but then he found out another player had already snagged their first talent. Just like he thought, he wasn't the only one putting in the grind. Suddenly, the ground shook as the system warned him that his rampage caught the attention of the demonic Rat King. Now, the protagonist was facing off against his first silver tier boss of an unknown level. The Dark Swordsman was shocked by the monster's stats and guessed it was higher level than him, but he was super pumped about the chance to be the first to take down a silver tier boss since he missed out on the first talent. The boss was gearing up to attack, and the demonic Rat King charged at him, but our hero dodged just in time, then hit the Dark Pest King with Evil Trampoline, freezing him for a split second. But the silver tier boss wasn't done yet, biting Piercing River and nearly cutting his health in half. As he took the hit, the Dark Swordsman realized he couldn't handle the Rat King's firepower without his title. The young man gripped his sword tight and dealt 1105 damage to the giant rat. After an hour of non-stop fighting, he finally managed to cut the boss's HP in half. Seeing this, Piercing River braced himself for the boss's talent. Suddenly, the demonic Rat King let out a loud scream. The confused player sensed something coming his way. Demonic rats started crawling up from the ground. In a flash, the protagonist found himself surrounded by a massive swarm of demonic pests. But surprisingly, all the little beasts were scared of him. Both he and the giant demonic Rat King were shocked by this. Thanks to his evil aura, Yoon the silver tier boss was furious at the young man. So the player grabbed the monster's tail as it tried to escape underground, stabbing it with his sword from behind. The boy and the rat tumbled into a cave, where the demonic Rat King started healing fast. Piercing River discovered the source of the corruption. The purple electric gem was glowing with an evil aura, a powerful feeling that suddenly surged through him. The protagonist couldn't believe the massive power, but he was even more amazed to find out that the purple electric gem boosted his evil aura, making him 10 times stronger for a whole minute. This made the silver tier boss furious, and it charged at him, but confident Piercing River charged back, dealing insane damage to the demonic Rat King, leading to the defeat of his first silver tier boss and leveling him up to 19. As the first player to take down such a boss, the system rewarded him with 1,000 reputation points and 20 stat points, plus a rare item called Power of Favors that caught his interest. This S-rank scroll would give him powers like a fraction of deities and let him upgrade any B-rank skills or lower by 1. Piercing River was thrilled with the amazing power he gained. He decided to share his achievement publicly and earn 10,000 reputation points. Piercing River realized his reputation would grab everyone's attention since his win left everyone shocked. But just as he went to check out the loot from the silver tier boss, he was surprised to see his talent trial would start in less than 5 minutes, leaving him both excited and stunned. He quickly figured out he only had 3 minutes to rate himself. Ham remembered that, even though it was mostly a gamble, the trial was the only way for players to level up their talents. And he recalled Daniel mentioning the gear restrictions, which only applied to gear, not skills. So, he decided to use the power of favors to get the best talent possible when something caught his eye. When the system asked him which skill he wanted to upgrade, our hero picked his Dark Sword skill. The B-rank skill then evolved into the A-rank skill Art of Killing, a talent exclusive to Dark Swordsman that nearly doubled the hero's attack power. Piercing River then spotted something on the ground, a rank purple electric gem that would boost his power and unleash his hidden potential for 1 minute based on his level and other factors. The gem had already been used once and could only boost his power 2 more times. Our hero wished he could take this amazing item with him to the talent trial. With just 10 seconds left, the young man's teleportation began. His trial would take place in a forest where he had to defeat an enemy in 10 minutes. If he succeeded, he'd get a D or C rank talent. If he failed, only a D rank talent. As the timer started, the Dark Swordsman turned around to find a rabbit sitting behind him. This enemy was just a lowly level 1 wild rabbit. The confused young man thought the trial talent was a joke since the rabbit was even weaker than the slime. But even with his level reset to 1, he still had the 20 free stat points from taking down the demonic Rat King. The clever young man used all those points to boost his attack, and combined with his talents, he stomped the rabbit, securing a talent between C and D rank. Suddenly, another enemy showed up, and taking it down would guarantee it a talent between B and D rank. The undead skeleton looked way tougher than the wild rabbit. As his level hit 10, the young man realized his trial level would always match his enemy's level. The skeleton charged at him, but the quick thinker countered right away, taking it out in one hit. Piercing River was eager to see what talent he'd get to pair with his rare roll and a rank skill. The next enemy was about to appear. This time, the protagonist faced a level 20 demonic wild wolf, a fierce beast that charged at him instantly. But with his level set at 20, Hand felt super confident he could take this opponent down easily, since it didn't compare to the usual bosses. Piercing River dodged the attack effortlessly and punched the demonic wild wolf in the gut. Just like that, the young man's victory secured him a talent between A and D rank. Hana didn't find the trial tough so far. His next opponent was an armored knight, and the two charged at each other, trading blows. But the protagonist managed to land a hit on the knight's head, and followed up with a flurry of punches, winning and earning a talent between D rank and C rank. Han thought he'd get an S rank next, but to his surprise, winning only got him a talent between S and B rank, not S and D. This time, he faced a level 1 young purple-winged tiger, a dark gold tier boss. The confused young man realized this opponent was unlike any he'd fought before, and even if he won, he might end up with a D-rank talent since it felt like a gamble. For this trial, our hero's level jumped to 40 and his attack power to 576. He planted his foot and charged at the beast, landing a punch through its head. The purple-winged tiger roared, catching the young man's attention before it dropped to its knees. Seeing this, Piercing River unleashed a flurry of punches on the winged cat. Suddenly, Wing got hit by Thunderbolt's attack, taking 6,757 damage. But the protagonist kept punching until the Dark Gold tier boss went down, earning him a talent between B rank and his rank. As a reward for beating such a tough foe, the system gave him 5 extra stat points, which made the player really happy. He quickly used the reward to boost his attack power when out of nowhere water appeared. A god-tier boss, the Water Kylan, had shown up. Piercing River couldn't believe his eyes. With that, the system bumped the player's level up to 50. The shocked young man was thrilled to see his attack power back at its peak, thanks to his rank talent which even doubled it. Now, he had to take down a level 1 god-tier boss in under 10 minutes to get a talent between a rank and a rank. This creature was a rare pearl of the sea with strong hydromancy. Even as a young one, it was powerful, and when it grew up, it became divine. Its presence in the trial could really shake things up outside. There was a huge level gap between the purple-winged tiger and the water hyaline, and it seemed like its stats were pretty weak, just like its talents. But the player couldn't figure out the monster's last talent, Prohibition Ocean Domain, making him think the level 1 boss could cast curses. Suddenly, the killer struck first with a powerful blast that the young man barely dodged, but he still got hurt. Han took a lot of damage from that basic attack. The monster then tackled the protagonist to the ground, dealing 4,555 damage. The player wondered how he lost so much HP again to such a simple move, while the god-tier boss prepared to finish him off. Feeling trapped, the player thought he was done for, but figured he was lucky to still have a shot at an S-rank talent. But the sore loser decided he wouldn't go down without a fight, and spat right into the monster's jaws. Grossed out, the Kudlin stepped back and spat out the weird projectile. Ham was relieved to have escaped. But that gross move just made the monster even angrier, and it unleashed its talent, Prohibition Ocean Domain. The young guy couldn't believe what he was seeing. Just when he thought it was game over, the dark energy inside him started to glow. Hitting level 50, Piercing River unlocked the hidden S-rank skill called Dark Reincarnation, causing the evil power within him to spiral out of control. Being neither alive nor dead, Dark Reincarnation boosted the Dark Swordsman's stats by 50%, but cost him 10 levels and a week-long cooldown. For regular players, this skill would be a nightmare to manage, but it was perfect for someone like him. Since Piercing River could level up but not respawn, losing meant starting over from level 1. And just like that, all his stats shot up by 50%. As this massive evil aura radiated from him, the Kilson was left stunned. Shocked, the creature asked the young man about this dark power. The protagonist was surprised to hear the god-tier boss talk, so he decided to tease him, saying he'd spill the beans if the beast admitted defeat, which only made the young creature angrier. So he jumped straight into action and used Evil Trampling, freezing the beast for half a second. But Piercing River wasn't finished yet. He unleashed a flurry of powerful punches on the legendary creature. The Killin was shocked to see this young guy use a supposedly forgotten skill. The player shot back, saying he could also breathe underwater. So the determined Killin activated Prohibition Ocean Domain, sending sea monsters to attack him for 3 minutes, leaving the confused player totally baffled. He decided to wrap up the fight quickly, but suddenly a water worm lunged at him. The bite from the poisonous sea snake hit him for 500 damage over 10 seconds. But this didn't faze the young player. Then, out of nowhere, he lost 39 HP points when something grabbed his leg. Piercing River shook it off and charged at his toughest challenge yet, jumping on the Killin's back while throwing punches and even begging it to die, which the God-tier boss took as an insult. Still, the protagonist kept mocking and provoking his opponent. Seeing the adventurer act so vulgar only made the fantastic beast angrier. The player wanted to distract the monster, but it just led to another brutal attack. Then a voice started advising the water Killin named Jair. Piercing River guessed it was someone watching his trial. Thinking they had bad intentions, he warned his enemy not to listen. This concern just annoyed the Killin even more. Fearing the worst, the young man jumped off its back and hit it with Evil Trampling again, canceling its skill, sweeping Cold Wave, and freezing it for half a second before attacking non-stop, dropping the monster's health to 20%. With only a tenth of its health left, the protagonist kept punching without a break. When the Ocean Domain summoned a giant shark to finish him off, Piercing River landed the final punch, finally defeating the God-tier boss and securing a talent between a rank and S rank. Excited, Victor got 10 stat points since it was time for him to pick his talent. The voice then praised him, saying it was a shame he was with the Dark faction. But Han insisted that being in the Light faction didn't mean you were good-hearted. The inhabitant was left speechless before saying he and the strong player would meet eventually. The protagonist wished to team up with him, and the system told him it was time to choose a talent that he couldn't outgrow and would stick with him for life. Han was annoyed to find out there was no trial for SS rank talent when something caught his eye. The protagonist found himself in a room full of talent spheres, with 60 minutes to pick one. The curious player grabbed the first talent called Solid Rock, which boosted Final Defense by 20%, impressing Han with the A rank talents. Final Defense was different from regular defense because players with this talent were super tough, but Piercing River always preferred attack over defense, knowing that even with strong armor, he couldn't protect his teammates, leading to his defeat against a group. That's why the protagonist, who loved offense, dropped the sphere since Dark Reincarnation at 6 stars would work great with an offensive talent. The search was tough with so many spheres and little time, so our hero started sprinting between the talents. Unfortunately, all he found were A rank spheres. The frustrated player demanded an S rank talent. 20 minutes went by, and all he found were blue spheres. Then he stumbled upon a golden ball, finally discovering an S rank talent called Immortality that would restore 0.3% of his health every second in battle and 2% while resting. The young man was amazed by this talent that could heal him in a minute. Still, the Dark Swordsman wanted offensive power, but he decided to keep the talent just in case time ran out. 40 minutes had passed, and he still had nothing. With 10 minutes left, he finally found another golden sphere, so the young man quickly grabbed it, hoping for the best. He found the S-rank passive called Madness, which would boost his final attack by 40%, but drop his defense to 80%. He was thrilled despite the downsides, since the huge attack boost was perfect for him, so he picked Madness as his defensive talent. Just like that, the young man got his second S-rank skill. The trial was finally done, but Piercing River wanted an SS rank talent. The system congratulated him for being the second player to finish, giving him 1 talent point, 1,000 reputation points, and 5 free stat points. But what happened next left the young man speechless. His S-rank talent Madness was upgraded to the SS rank talent Dominate, plus he got a luck point for earning an SS rank skill, making him overjoyed with the system's generosity for coming in second. With that, he was teleported back to his world. Piercing River returned to the underground cave. Han checked out his new talent. This SS rank passive would boost his final attack by 50%. This talent was awesome because it didn't weaken his defense and gave him more attack than the S-rank skill Madness, which was already strong. But Dominant turned out to be even better. Piercing River was super grateful to the system. Then he remembered he hadn't picked up the loot from the silver tier boss, which looked promising. The level 19 assassin, God's Forbidden Zone, the first to get a talent, started showing off his rank talent called Swift, giving him 30% more speed. He claimed he'd help anyone who needed it during the stream, while comments rolled in, mocking the player who got an SS rank talent, making him look weak in comparison. Now that Han had eaten, he was ready to jump back into the game. So, Piercing River found himself back in the Rat King's cave. His last mission was pretty rewarding, as taking down the Rat King netted him 3 pieces of silver tier gear and 50 silver coins. Our hero got a shiny gold helmet, gold boots, and the sword of the Rat King. But he noticed he needed to be at least level 25 to use the sword and level 30 just to wear the boots. Plus, he still needed more EXP to hit level 20. Piercing River decided to test out his new talent by attacking some nearby rats. With one swing of his sword, he dealt an incredible 11,487 damage, making all the pests vanish instantly, leaving the happy Dark Swordsman amazed. Then, Piercing River got a notification from the system offering to make his achievement public for 5,000 reputation points, which he quickly accepted. Once the news went public, all players were shocked, struggling to believe someone actually got an SS rank skill. Just then, a window popped up. It was Dragon soaring 10,000 miles congratulating him on his new talent. The protagonist thanked him, who said that if he didn't know him well, he'd think he was a spy for the game's developers. The man then offered to help the humble hero for a fair price in exchange for tips on getting a high-ranked talent, which was a tempting deal. He revealed that gear is useless in trials and that he should focus on skills and class growth stars. Still, even with this info, getting the highest rank skills is tough since it's hard for beginners to get strong skills and boost their chances with passive stat bonuses. The player would also need high growth stars from a rare hidden class. Lastly, even if the player is rich and can meet the first 2 conditions, it would take a lot of time and money, plus the highest rank is S rank, since he wasn't one of the first in the trial. Just like that, Piercing River made a quick 100,000 yuan, leaving him stunned by his partner's wealth. The man thanked the protagonist for his help, saying he never paid attention to stars, thinking his friend must be pretty advanced. But the Dark Swordsman pretended to have only 4 stars since his 6 stars seemed exaggerated. Sir Dragon soaring 10, Miles then announced he'd pay a lot for a hidden class and even more for his unique hidden class, with the price open for negotiation. Since the announcement would cost 100 coins to broadcast nationwide, Han figured the man spent a fortune, especially since 1 gold coin is 7,000 yuan. The protagonist started to think about the little lie he told earlier. As he picked up the call, the rich guy said that the growth star level of hidden classes is way too strong. He also thought Piercing River was just trying to save face by claiming he had 4 stars. When one of his buddies asked about the Soul hidden class's growth star level, he was impressed to hear it was a solid 4 stars. Boosting the star level was now super important, since it would affect the strength gap later, which is why the wealthy guy focused on getting a hidden class, even a unique one if he could, instead of just leveling up. So, the man's ally decided to get the rest of the guild to gather info. An hour later, our hero, now level 20, finished his mission and headed back to his master for his reward. Soon after, in the City of Darkness, Piercing River returned to his master. Dango was shocked and impressed by his student's sudden boost in attack power. His student, the Fallen, was now a level 20 bronze tier boss but chose to keep his SS rank talent a secret from his master since he wasn't sure how he'd react. The speechless mentor couldn't believe how the protagonist's attack points jumped from 200 to a massive 750. But still, the teacher was happy for his student and decided not to ask about his talent. Instead, he asked what equipment he wanted, which surprised the young man. As he got to pick his reward for the first time, the teacher promised to use all his power to help his student grow. Grateful, Piercing River asked a necromancer how to lower the required level for his new sword, handing it over to the dark magician, who deemed the weapon worthy of his pupil. By completing his mission, the young man earned 150,000 EXP points and a C-rank item called Gift Orb. With that, he leveled up to 21. The Gift Orb was proof of the teacher's care, lowering the required level of any silver tier gear by 10. The protagonist couldn't be more thankful. The teacher told him to use it right away, so the orb was applied to the sword of the Demon Rat King, dropping its required level to 15. Suddenly, an idea hit the Dark Swordsman, and he asked his teacher if he could use the Blessing Orb to upgrade his new blade. The surprised mage wanted to know where his student got it since it was more valuable than the Gift Orb. Han said it was just luck. The Dark Magician thought it was a smart move to use this low-rank Blessing Orb to enhance the silver tier sword, so they used the orb on the sword of the Rakkain. With that, the silver tier blade became gold rank. You could see the difference, as gold was better than silver, The weapon stats were pretty standard, but in the hero's hands, the damage would go way up. Just then, the system notified him that he had become a silver tier boss, and his title changed too. This made the player super happy as his title changed to the Dark Master, boosting his stats. His description updated too, now calling him a despicable traitor of the light, aiming to master all darkness with the help of his mentor, the Necromancer. Ham was now definitely a tough target with his attack power. His new title also boosted his final life points by 150%. Piercing River finally got how powerful the Demon God's blessing was. It only showed its real strength like Rival and Resurrection after hitting a certain level. The teacher started praising his student's talent, and the student returned the compliment. The proud Daniel clearly agreed. The Necromancer then pointed out that while Piercing River's attack was strong, his defense and gear were pretty weak, and he needed to step it up to help the Dark City. This got the young man excited for a new mission. The city ruler explained that unwanted adventurers were spotted near his territory, and since they were from the rival faction, they needed to be taken out. The next mission was to take out those players, a B difficulty task that the protagonist jumped at. Even though he didn't expect this kind of job, the young man was pumped about the huge EXP he'd get from taking down players. The mission was to kill 500 adventurers to prove his loyalty to the darkness, with mysterious rewards waiting for him. But first, the young man asked for some elixirs. Daniel said he couldn't just give them away for free, but he would trade them at a 30% discount since he was dealing with his student. A sweet deal that the young man quickly accepted. He checked out the healing elixir, which restored 500 life points per second for 10 seconds for 35 silver coins, and the life elixir, which had double the effects for double the price. The young man was shocked at how steep those prices were, even with the discount, meaning the life elixir originally cost 1 gold coin. This felt more like a scam than a fair trade for the player. With a heavy heart, he bought 5 life elixirs and 4 healing elixirs. With that, the young man set off. Suddenly, a giant shadow in the sky caught his eye, and it turned out to be a massive dragon. The Dragon Master on top seemed curious, sparking the interest of his ride. For a moment, the Dragon Rider felt a dark, powerful aura, but he figured it was just his imagination, since strong demons don't spawn in this area. The dragon suggested checking it out, but the rider declined, saying their current mission was way more important than wasting time hunting demons. As he watched the dragon fly off, the young man wished he could ride one. But that kind of fun was only available later in the game, when he suddenly spotted a figure hiding nearby. The player known as Infidelity Master, a trainee thief, had been found. The player couldn't believe his eyes as Piercing River had become a silver tier boss. Seeing the other player confused about how he became a boss, Piercing River started to wonder what the player would do next. So he called out the adventurer, saying how dumb he was for stalking him. This left the trainee thief confused, as it meant players could be more than just adventurers. This made him think that Piercing River was just a character in the game, but he quickly dismissed that idea after seeing how he had taken out over 100 players by himself. So, Infidelity Master demanded an explanation from the protagonist, since the bounty on his head was enough to make someone super rich. But the protagonist quickly took him out with one swing of his sword. Getting killed by a single hit that dealt almost 0 damage made the young guy question the game itself. He was even more shocked to find out this wasn't some special move, just a basic slash. So, he shared Piercing River's location and warned everyone about his attack power of over 10,000, since he got taken out in one blow. This sent the community into a frenzy, but they weren't discouraged, believing they could take him down with sheer numbers. Of course, since the message was public, Piercing River saw it too. Seeing this, he tried to run away since the bounty on him made him a target for ambush. Even if the chances of running into someone with a scroll like his were slim, it could still happen, and that would mean game over. 10 minutes later, the protagonist noticed a crowd had formed. Lots of players gathered to take him on. Things might go well for Piercing River if he avoids facing the army directly, since someone who didn't pass the talent trial couldn't beat him. Sharpblade Violent Storm asked Infidelity Master where the target was. The thief thought the young man had escaped, since they were in the same spot where he took him out earlier. So, he ordered the search to start to catch Piercing River, supposedly the only player with a hidden class. Everyone was pumped for the chance, and the search kicked off. The first defeated players shared their locations with the rest, leading the commander and his team to charge into the murder scene. But just as they got there, another eliminated player was spotted elsewhere, making the leader realize their target was picking them off one by one, instead of facing them head-on. Sharpblade Violent Storm didn't expect the game to have such a huge map, as the nearby town could hold at least 10,000 players. And since the game hadn't been out for a week, Most players were still in the newbie towns, so sending 10,000 players to hunt one guy seemed ridiculous. Piercing River was too strong and too quick for the hunting party, leading some to think he might be a hacker. Sharp Blade Violent Storm was left speechless. In the end, he decided this hunt was too risky, even after spending a ton on gear that could freeze the target for 10 minutes. Yet despite all the guild's efforts, since the Dark Swordsman was attacking them one by one, they still had a good chance of losing. Meanwhile, the protagonist kept taking out players with one swing of his sword. The huge EXP from the defeated players helped him quickly hit level 22. But just as he took down 500 players, the system warned him that the Light faction noticed the massacre and would return in a week to reclaim the City of Darkness. This notification went out to all players. Piercing River was surprised to hear about the territorial battle. This fight would truly be the first big event, with the tough task of gathering enough players to conquer the city, testing the guild's teamwork. And since he was the third strongest boss of the City of Darkness, bailing on the fight would drop the protagonist back to level 12 and cost him 1,000 reputation points. Piercing River was shocked to realize this tough battle was unavoidable. Things weren't looking great for our heroes since the Light faction had the advantage in big events. Plus, considering the city's rank, the Light faction might send some strong NPCs too. Soon after, Piercing River went to talk to Daniel about it in the city. The Dark Magician was surprised his student got mixed up in the continent's issues. It was pretty unexpected to hear that from an NPC. Daniel promised he'd protect his student no matter what, and teleport him away without facing any system penalties, leaving the pupil worried about his master. But the necromancer calmed him down, saying that as a death magician, he didn't fear dying, but welcomed it since he had completed his mission. These words left the young man totally confused, but the teacher assured him he'd understand one day and not to worry about him, leaving the young man deep in thought. That's why the teacher suggested they deal with it when the time comes. For now, he let his pupil pick a reward for finishing his task. Piercing River asked for a better pair of boots, so the young man got 200,000 EXP points from his teacher and some silver tier speed boots. These boots were decent, giving an 8% speed boost and needing level 22. They would keep him warm in winter and cool in summer. The young man was stoked to get another silver tier item. Now that he hit the required level, he also decided to wear the gear dropped by the Rat King, even if it didn't boost his attack since the wrist guards were just bronze tier. Most of his gear was now silver, and with his 5-star defense growth, he'd be untouchable by regular players. With that, Han asked Daniel for another mission. Stinghava's student was a skilled dark swordsman who would learn new skills as he leveled up, but needed to master the basics. He gave Piercing River a recommendation letter to deliver to the undead swordsmen in the Ghost's swamps to learn some new techniques. Ham was grateful to the necromancer. So, Piercing River's new C-tier mission was to deliver Daniel's letter to the undead swordsman who ruled the Ghost's swamps after coming back to life because of his monstrous power. The young man then asked his teacher for directions to the swamp. This game didn't help players with the map. Instead, it encouraged them to explore the world on their own. The hefty Piercing River set off, and after a long trek, he felt relieved when he finally reached his destination. The moon shone brightly over this cursed land. Piercing River spotted a few shapes not far away. Those were rotting corpses of unknown level and defense that hated the living and saw them as enemies after being killed and reanimated by rage in this very swamp. The player guessed that the hidden monsters were at least level 28. But since their other stats were close to his, he could see them. The monsters spotted the protagonist and charged at him. He faced them head-on, kicking one in the face and slashing at the corpses. But one managed to bite his arm, dealing 214 damage. With the young man's defense, that hit wasn't a big deal. Taking down those rotting corpses gave him 6,563 experience points. These monsters weren't too dangerous, and gave decent EXP, so he only needed to take down less than 300 to hit level 23, making them great for practice. After 30 minutes, he leveled up again. With that, Piercing River continued his search for the undead swordsman, marking a tree with a sword slash. Even with those marks, the ghostly swamps were huge, making it tough to find him. Suddenly, our hero had an idea. He remembered that the undead swordsman could feel and perceive things, so he took a deep breath and called out for him, saying he was sent by Daniel. Out of nowhere, he heard a response. Piercing River turned to see a tall knight in armor with long hair and a purple enchanted blade. The undead swordsman had a menacing tone and asked what the necromancer wanted. He appeared out of thin air. The protagonist needed to be careful around such a powerful figure. He explained that his master had written the undead swordsman a letter. He stood up and quickly closed the gap to the Dark Swordsman. As he read the letter, he couldn't help but admire his speed. The undead finally got why this young man had a dark aura, explaining how the world would fall into chaos with evil rising alongside the light, faction's heroes, leaving the young man unimpressed. The necromancer wanted him to learn the undead swordsman's techniques, but since he was bound by the swamp's rules, Piercing River had to complete a mission first. This puzzled the Dark Swordsman. It seemed the NPCs were fully aware of Eternity's game rules, which was surprising since breaking them could collapse the whole world. But Piercing River thought those rules were part of the game, so he asked the NPC about them. The undead knight said the rules were absolute, not even the 10 demon gods could break them, making Piercing River think all NPCs tried to defy those rules. The man insisted he would rather die than break them, then wrapped up the topic, saying Piercing River could search for answers once he was strong enough. In the meantime, he told the young swordsman to slay rotten corpses to prove he was worthy to be his student. When the window popped up, Piercing River immediately accepted. He was tasked with defeating 1,000 monsters to prove his worth, which was unbelievable. An undead swordsman told the weak young guy, who had a strong attack but lacked practice, that if he messed up this mission, he wouldn't be able to become his pupil. After that, Piercing River would have to say the swordsman's name, making him wonder if this guy was always like this. It was almost midnight, but Han needed to boost his avatar before the city fight, so he decided to stay up all night. Then, the first rotten corpses attacked him. But Piercing River quickly took down the first one, and then killed 6 more right after. The 9th rotten corpse was a piece of cake too, so the protagonist just kept on killing. When he took out rotten corpse number 406, it dropped an item. It was a level 30 bronze staff, which meant he could sell it for a good amount. After 5 hours of non-stop slaying, the mission was finally done. Now he just needed a bit more EXP to hit a new level. Suddenly, the necromancer's concealment spell wore off, turning the young man back into his monstrous form and unleashing his powerful eagle aura. This made someone wonder if this was what a true dark swordsman looked like. This was none other than the undead swordsman who showed up out of nowhere. Piercing River took the chance to tell him he had slain the 0 monsters. The undead swordsman praised the young man for his amazing firepower, which let him cut through hordes of rotting corpses. With the mission done, Piercing River got 200,000 EXP and earned the right to be Cheryl the undead swordsman's pupil, leveling him up to 26. Cheryl then said it would be better for the young man to call him teacher, which he was fine with, but the undead knight warned the weak swordsman to keep his expectations in check since he could only learn a little. The protagonist was thrilled to get a new skill, and tons of options popped up in front of him, leaving him amazed. All were high-level skills that Cheryl had as an undead swordsman, like the S-rank Evil Solution, needing level 55 and costing 1,000 coins to kill all enemies 10 levels below. These high-level skills also came with a hefty price, like the S-rank Dark Shroud and the SS-rank Skill Descent, but both were way too pricey for our hero. Just then, the young man spotted something cool. Piercing River finally found a solid rank skill, Grasp of the Undead, that lets the user freeze one enemy within 10 meters for 3 seconds, for just 2 coins. And there was a B-tier skill called Necro Slash, needing level 25, which lets the user deal 250% more damage and slow the target's speed by a tenth for 2 seconds for 1 gold coin. Even if these skills weren't top tier, they were perfect for the early game. So the young man grabbed both skills. After that, Cheryl told him to come back when he was stronger to learn more skills. But Piercing River wasn't sure how much power he needed, so the undead warrior said he could return once he couldn't contain his evil aura anymore. This made the young man think about dark reincarnation, leading him to believe he should come back at level 50. With that, the dark swordsman said goodbye to his new master, the undead warrior, and soon after it was almost morning in the real world. Han decided it was time to catch some sleep. The next day, Han's phone started ringing. It was his old friend who noticed he sounded sleepy around noon. After explaining he was up late, Wan Kai wanted to chat about a big event in Eternity. Han asked if his skilled friend was joining since the top players would get golden tier gear and rare items. Han was intrigued by the news about the rewards. Wan Kai mentioned he heard it not from the system but from his own sources. Since he didn't agree to keep it a secret, Wan Kai figured he could share this info. He then told the sleepy Han to take on low-level monsters to earn some EXP. Suddenly, Han realized something about the event rewards, which got him excited and made him come up with a plan that intrigued his old friend. Han insisted on treating his friend to a meal after this, then jokingly kissed him over the phone, leaving Wan Kai speechless. The confused young man reminded the gamer that he was a guy. After that, Piercing River logged back into the game and quickly ran to Daniel to discuss his plan. Soon after, in the City of Darkness, he told the Necromancer he had a strategy to fend off the Light Faction's attack, which Daniel agreed to hear. He started by reminding Daniel that other players, like him, hated being controlled. Even if they began as light fighters, switching sides wouldn't erase their actions as adventurers. But the teacher didn't get it. Piercing River wanted to flip the script by recruiting other adventurers who felt mistreated by the Light Faction to join the dark side. Since brave players are drawn to flashy rewards, many were fed up with how the Light Faction treated them like pawns and wanted to rebel against the main story. But Daniel said the situation was trickier because no one could just join the Dark Faction. Piercing River insisted it didn't matter if it was possible, they just needed to promise rewards. And this wasn't the end of the plan, leaving the Dark Mage curious. The protagonist suggested they promise big rewards for first place, so Daniel asked him to explain. They should say the top player would become a member of the Dark Faction. So the teacher reminded his student again that he was recruited into the Dark Faction for Daniel's safety, and revealed he wasn't a Dark Gold tier boss. This shocked the student, who figured out his tutor had reached the spirit level. But he quickly changed the subject, claiming his power was greater than Dark Gold level, and repeated that players couldn't switch sides because they were bound to the goddess. Yet, the clever young man pointed out that didn't stop them from fixing it as a reward, leaving the teacher puzzled. The teacher was left stunned when he realized that as long as his student took first place, the promise would mean nothing. The hero was glad to see the teacher finally understanding his plan. Daniel started praising the young guy for his sneaky way of thinking, but Han thought it was just smart thinking. So the ruler of the Dark City admitted that even if their meeting wasn't perfect, he was glad to have him as a student. Then, he made a public announcement inviting adventurers to join the Dark Faction by signing up with the Undead Knight outside Daniel's city. The system told our hero that the Siege Points leaderboard was now available, along with the Defense Points leaderboard. So, he decided to check out the Defense Points leaderboard. The top spot would join the Dark Faction, the second would get a Dark Gold level gear piece and an S rank item, and the third would receive 2 gold gear pieces. The young man was happy to see this, so he made the list public to watch the players' reactions. Just a few minutes later, comments flooded in on his post, showing that most players were interested. Piercing River then asked his master to hide his true form again. But Daniel had already planned to do that since, based on the young man's strength, he would get killed if he kept this scary look. So, he cast the stealth art, giving the young man a human form for a whole month. Piercing River was shocked to see the spell lasting longer. The teacher explained that this time, he wasn't hurt, so the spell would definitely last longer. Daniel then asked Piercing River if he had met the undead swordsman. The protagonist confirmed and said he learned 2 skills from him before being told to come back stronger. Daniel felt relieved since it meant the powerful undead swordsman wasn't planning to return to the Light Faction. He also figured out that his second mentor had fought for the goddess when he was alive. The necromancer praised Shuriel's strength and said he would become the young man's mentor once he passed on. Daniel, thinking he couldn't offer much, asked the player not to be shocked or mourn his death, because when the time came, they'd meet again if he survived long enough. You can't just become a death mage. So Daniel sent his weak student to get stronger to become the top player. This meant the young man would be tested in a big event. He received the S-rank mission medal with mysterious rewards, where failing would mean losing the city. A way for the system to challenge the storyline, which our hero accepted right away. Soon after, the protagonist got a B-rank mission from his teacher to destroy the nearby enemy camp and take out the soldiers and their boss. Daniel explained that he had given the young man easy missions before, but now it was time to make it tougher, so he told his student not to bring Shane into this. So the young man set off. The sun was shining bright. Piercing River finally arrived at the Sunshine Forest map. Our hero spotted the target camp, guarded by the Star Moon soldiers of an unknown level, who were strong members of the Light Faction getting ready for the upcoming attack. Piercing River was pretty annoyed with his scouting ability, seeing that advanced players had sharper skills, unlike beginners who could only see up to 5 levels above them. With that, the protagonist decided to go after the isolated soldiers. But just as the Star Moon soldier spotted him, our hero used his skill, Grasp of the Undead, freezing him for a second. Then he hit him with Necro Slash, dealing 24,765 damage and slowing him down. Just when the soldier tried to shout about the intrusion, Piercing River charged at him and took him out with one final blow. The hero then thought about how well his combo worked. But then the other soldiers noticed our hero. Sensing a strong boss, the Dark Swordsman decided it was time to run. Then the soldiers started talking about how the general was off with his concubine. Hearing this, Piercing River turned back, realizing they were no threat to him. So the Star Moon soldiers ramped up their attack, using their formation skill as they charged at the Dark Swordsman, but he wasn't impressed since they were way weaker. In a flash, he took out the first soldier, earning 11,236 experience points, and quickly finished off the second. After 10 minutes of non-stop fighting, the Dark Swordsman who cleared the camp felt let down because there were only a few soldiers left. But then, a giant knight with two huge axes appeared. The boss of the soldier camp had finally returned. This muscle-bound figure was Kinton, a silver-tier boss in the Star Moon General, known as the top warrior of Star Nebula Town. Piercing River found himself limited by his scouting skills again, unable to see the knight's attack, defense, or skills. Kinton recognized him as the notorious Piercing River, leaving the young man curious about this stranger. The knight explained that Piercing River was a wanted man in the Light faction, and he aimed to take his head for more power and wealth, promising him any woman. The protagonist then decided to taunt the silver tier boss, saying he wouldn't last long with a beautiful woman. Hearing this, the furious Star Moon General charged at him with his jeweled axes, and Piercing River barely dodged a deadly blow before using his skill, Trampling Evil, to kick the boss's face. But due to the level difference, he couldn't freeze his target, leaving him shocked as Kinton countered with massive damage. Realizing he was low on health and defense, the protagonist knew he couldn't face the boss head-on, so he snuck behind the general and slashed at him from the back. Kinton was impressed by his opponent's skills, making him eager to fight Piercing River head-on. Meanwhile, the woman with the general watched the fight from behind a tree, shocked to see the fierce general struggling. Our hero's health points were almost below 50%. So, with a plan in mind, he drank a potion to regain some health and started using his skill. Kinton was immobilized for almost a second by Grasp of the Undead. Then the protagonist charged at him again, using Evil Trampling once more, dealing 11,000 damage. The Star Moon General claimed his opponent had no chance of immobilizing him, but to his surprise, the infamous traitor used the speed boost from his skill to escape. Kinton was impressed by the speed. The lady in red, who was hiding behind a tree, came over to check on him. Sugi was annoyed that the traitor got away, but then Piercing River showed up right behind him. The player, back with full health, wanted to keep going. This amazing recovery was thanks to a potion that heals 5% health per second while retreating, so Kinton charged at him again. After 2 minutes of intense fighting, the young man found himself in the same spot as before, so he used Grasp of the Undead again, followed by Evil Trampling. Before making a tactical retreat to regain some health, the Star Moon General, who was almost out of health, was disgusted by the Dark Swordsman's dirty fighting style. The lady in red suggested running away, which the giant knight quickly agreed to. When Piercing River showed up again, he taunted the man, calling him a coward afraid of losing, which the furious general found pretty hypocritical coming from the Dark Swordsman. Curious, Kenton explained. He had been running away the whole fight, so the player charged at the boss, saying he wanted to show off his skills to the guy he agreed to fight to the death. The giant warrior welcomed the challenge with open axes. So the moved Star General decided to use his skills and started spinning like a tornado, dealing serious damage to the protagonist. Piercing River couldn't help but recognize the power of this silver-tier boss, so he planned to keep attacking once the skill ran out. Kinton was now worn out and gasping for breath, giving the young swordsman the perfect chance to hit him for 11,350 points of damage. This made the Moon Star General wonder about the young man's endless stamina, but Piercing River didn't bother answering before finally finishing off the level 35 silver-tier boss Kinton with one last swing of his sword. With that, the young man, now at level 28, completed his mission and earned the right to choose a reward from the Dark Mage. Piercing River was eager to see what gear the silver-tier boss dropped. Kinton's death caused him to drop 2 gold coins along with the looted gear. The Moonstar General died, leaving behind his favorite armor and axe. The player decided to sell the axe since it was worse than his sword but kept the armor. So, he called the buyer. Dragon Soaring 10,000 Miles said that even the highest level player couldn't use the axe because of its level 35 requirement. After betraying the light, Piercing River lost the warehouse feature. So, the gear had to be sold right away since his avatar's death would mean they disappeared too. Piercing River managed to sell the high-level axe for 200,000 yuan, and then sent the coordinates for dragon soaring 10,000 miles as guys to pick it up. The buyer was pretty trusting, transferring the money before getting the gear. But just then, the young man spotted someone. The lady in red looked terrified of the man. As dark thoughts filled his mind, the young man remembered how realistic the NPCs in this game were, and started moving toward the woman with bad intentions. But then, the system warned him that any nasty behavior toward the characters would make him an enemy of both the light and dark factions. Just as he thought, this game had its own way of protecting its NPCs. So, he decided to use the lady to message the light faction that anyone who wouldn't face him in the upcoming battle was just too scared to fight. With that, he went back to the necromancer. Soon after, in the City of Darkness, the teacher asked the student what reward he wanted. Piercing River asked for the gift orb, which the creepy master agreed to, giving him the orb and 200,000 experience points. With that, the protagonist used the C-tier item to lower the level requirement for the cliff wall armor. Just like that, our hero got new armor that boosted his stats. Now that he had enough strength, the young man could check the faction strength leaderboard. The list of the 10 strongest warriors in the dark faction popped up. The curious player started looking for his name on the list. Our protagonist was the 99,999,950th strongest member of the dark faction. The young man wasn't thrilled to see he ranked below so many in his faction. Daniel realized his apprentice could now see the strength leaderboard, but reassured him that with his potential, he could one day be one of the top 10 fighters. Piercing River thought his teacher's comment was about his hidden profession. Daniel confirmed it and explained that the previous Dark Swordsman was once part of the infamous 10 demon gods. Piercing River was curious about his predecessor's death, but his master changed the subject, keeping the truth for another time. Daniel then praised his student for his plan, as over 200,000 players chose to fight for them, which the excited player had expected. Players care more about themselves than justice, which is why they weren't bound by ethics to fight for the light. Daniel then said the city should be safe as long as a certain group isn't involved, piquing the young man's interest. But the teacher said Piercing River was fully aware of who those individuals were. Just then, the young man realized that the killing scheme was still the toughest part. Daniel Lin told his pupil he was still too weak to handle the problem, so he tasked him with training the skeleton soldiers, the city's main force, who were much weaker than him. The young man accepted the C-rank mission to train the defenders of the City of Darkness. Soon after, in the real world, Han wanted to enjoy takeout with his friend, so they went for spicy soup and gutter oil. As they ate, Wang Kai and Han started chatting about the one and only game. Wang Kai then asked his old friend about his level. The protagonist revealed he was already in the 20s, which shocked him, since it meant Han was among the top players on the scoreboard. Wang Kai then shared that he was still at level 19 and ranked 39th, called the Triumphant King. Before asking for the protagonist's in-game name, Han agreed to share it if Wang Kai kept it a secret. And just like that, the protagonist finally revealed himself as Piercing River to his old friend. At first, Wang Kai took it lightly, but then he realized what it meant, leaving him stunned. Wang Kai was shocked he never connected the dots between them. The young guy struggled to believe this crazy truth. He finally got why Han wanted to keep it a secret and promised to do the same to avoid any trouble. The protagonist fully trusted Wang Kai. Later, in the City of Darkness, as soon as the hero logged back in, the system told him that his plan to recruit adventurers had upset the Light faction, pushing the assault up by 4 days. In other words, the event would kick off the next day, leaving the young man stunned. He then guessed this unexpected change was because the NPCs were thinking for themselves, like the email said, or just a way for the creators to keep players optimistic. Just then, he spotted the skeleton soldiers training. All the units stood at attention as a sign of respect for the Dark Swordsman. Piercing River told the skeletons that the Dark Mage made him their instructor and ordered them to summon all nearby skeleton troops. Soon, a small crowd of bones gathered, but the protagonist wasn't sure how to train them. Just then, the system told him that skeleton soldiers could learn one skill each week by watching a demo. This made the young man think for a second. Finally, he figured out the best plan. With that, he decided to show off one of his useful skills. Just like that, our hero jumped high into the air and came down with a flying kick, smashing the ground. Piercing River explained that the secret of evil trampling was stepping on the enemy's east with crushing force. He then imagined tomorrow's battle, where the skeleton soldiers would use that infamous move against the light forces. One skeleton who wasn't paying attention asked the instructor to repeat the demo. Piercing River happily showed evil trampling again, and 13 skeletons learned the D-rank skill step on people. while 3 others got the C-tier skill crush. Since some skeletons were smarter than others, it made sense that some picked up a stronger skill, but they were all just weaker versions of the original meant to be a last resort. So, 22 skeletons learned the skill step on people. The total for the D-rank skill then went up to 45. Just like that, the young man finished his mission and quickly ran to his teacher for a reward. Piercing River then told his master he had trained the skeleton soldiers. The necromancer guessed that with tomorrow's battle, his student would rush to finish the task. So, the young man got the mysterious item Mouthshard of an unknown rank, which could save the user from a fatal injury once a month. Piercing River was shocked to get such a strong item from a low-level mission. Daniel explained that it was possible since the item's rank was unknown, so the protagonist thanked his master. Daniel then said that destiny is a strange thing. In the past, the necromancer used the moose shard to escape from tough enemies, but when it was on cooldown, he met Piercing River, which led to their master-student bond. The protagonist wanted to know why he got such a generous gift. Daniel said he'd rather Piercing River keep the shard than let it fall into enemy hands, reminding him that they'd meet again if he survived long enough. Curious, the protagonist asked his teacher who he really was, but Daniel repeated that he'd get all the answers once he got stronger, telling Piercing River to focus on his safety in tomorrow's battle, leaving him to think quietly. As it got late, Han decided to hit the hay since the siege battle would start at 10 a.m. The next day at 09:30, the protagonist grabbed his helmet and dove into eternity to kick off the long-awaited battle. The City of Darkness was now packed with players. Piercing River couldn't help but notice it. Our hero, part of the third wave of city defense, started to think he was risking big penalties by using players to defend the city. As soon as he logged in, all the nearby players turned their attention to him, but the star player ignored them and pushed through the crowd. As the boss of the third defense wave, Piercing River figured it was smart to check on the first wall. But just as the young man got to find his teacher, the grand battle officially kicked off, and as the boss of the third wave, Piercing River couldn't join in during the first and second waves. An enormous army of adventurers charged at the City of Darkness. Leading the first attack wave for the Light faction was level 20 Bronze Tier boss challenger Xiao Zhou. The leading boss was set on reclaiming the City of Light by wiping out the skeleton army inside. With that, the Dark Ruler commanded the assault. The gates of the City of Darkness swung open, unleashing a massive army to defend its walls. The skeleton soldiers jumped high and started stomping on the players' faces, using the skill step on people, giving them an edge against the Light faction. These wild skeletons, with their crazy fighting style, even unsettled some defending players, while others decided to record it to watch later. Seeing this, Damo turned to his brightest malicious student with a proud grin. Piercing Rivers responded with a wicked Machiavellian smile. One of the attacking players chose to retreat, realizing these skeletons were tougher than the ones he hunted with his friends. This shameless fighting style infuriated challenger Jizuo, who easily smashed a skeleton's skull. With that, the defending players jumped into the fight. Piercing River accessed the system and opened the defender's scoreboard, quickly figuring out that the Light Warriors earned points by taking down defenders, since the Gale Legions weren't easy to beat. To play it safe, the protagonist jumped in and asked a nearby archer for a spare weapon. The archer said the bow wouldn't really help him, but Piercing River insisted on taking the bow, and 10 arrows for 10 silver coins. So the archer handed over his wooden bow. As soon as Piercing River grabbed it, his attack power dropped to 842. Piercing River shot his first arrow, taking out one of the attackers and scoring his first point. One of the attackers was shocked to see his deputy leader, a level 20 tank, go down with just one arrow. The pro archer was also surprised to see a warrior class player deal more damage than him with a simple bow. Happy with the damage, the young man readied another arrow, and when he shot it, the unlucky player hit in the head was instantly taken out. Seeing a level 21 tank go down from one arrow, the archer started to think that joining the Dark faction would give crazy power and a perfect hit rate. This made Piercing River realize his bow skills were just as sharp as his sword skills. Feeling like he was on the same level as the legendary archer Lu Bu, the young man decided to shoot 3 arrows at once. But sadly, the first one took out a skeleton soldier, costing him a point. The second arrow hit an ally, losing him another point, and the third arrow took down another skeleton soldier. The ruler of the Dark City was shocked by his top student's friendly fire, so he told him to control his shots to avoid hitting his own team. Now embarrassed by his overconfidence, Piercing River aimed for a group of enemies. Meanwhile, the level 20 Bronze Tier boss, down to his last life point, was still determined to reclaim the city for the Light faction. Players rushed in to grab the leftover loot. Challenger Zazu fell to the player Sleepless, giving him 25 points and a total of 129 points, putting him in first place on the Defender scoreboard. Piercing River, now in fourth place, realized the competition was tough with a huge point gap between first and second. He needed to get ready because in 5 minutes, the second wave would hit with the level 25 bronze tier boss, Thunderax Agnes, leading his Thunderous Legion. A new army appeared on the horizon. Thunderax Agnes ordered his men to charge with full force. Like the level 20 bronze tier boss, the level 25 boss aimed to take back the City of Light from the darkness, but the defenders were ready. The forces of darkness unleashed a rain of arrows on the battlefield. But Thunderax Agnes quickly launched a powerful attack, forcing Daniel to release one of his strongest minions. Just like that, the Skeleton General, a level 25 bronze tier boss leading the Skeleton Battalion, made his entrance. With that, the skeletons charged in. Their kicks and the giant general annoyed Thunderax Agnes with the enemy's rough fighting style. Just then, he noticed the Skeleton General right in front of him, ready to swing his sword. And just like that, Thunderax Agnes fell, losing all reward points. This made the Legion's troops lose their spirit and pumped up the defenders as they started chasing the fleeing attackers. But then, the system warned the players that the third wave, led by the surprisingly tough, level 35 silver boss, Angry Soldier Karo, would start in 2 minutes. Piercing River started to think about the attacking boss's name. It sounded familiar when suddenly, a mysterious figure took down several defenders. The level 35 silver boss, known as Angry Soldier Karo, who rose from being a guard in the beginner village with help from the chief, showed up on the battlefield looking for Piercing River. This was the same guard the protagonist still owed 2 gold coins to from the start of the game. Out of nowhere, one of the players found himself stripped by Karo's blade. Seeing this, the Skeleton General charged straight at the silver boss, but the village guard easily dodged the giant blade and took down the big skeleton just as quickly. As the defending boss fell, Angry Soldier Karo ordered his troops to push forward. Piercing River wasn't shocked to see a bronze boss losing to his silver tier, so he decided to jump into the fight. But Daniel stopped his student to remind him that his safety should come first. With that, he sent his apprentice into battle. Now that the battle was in its third wave, the level 28 silver protagonist could finally step onto the field. The attackers were excited about the chance to take down the traitor of the light and claim the bounty on his head. The system then told him he couldn't fall back to the city for the first 20 minutes. Suddenly, Piercing River was attacked from the front, but he dodged easily and even managed to counterattack right away. Karo then told his men to surround the traitor. Whether the protagonist fell to the attackers or the defenders, the reward would still be collected. Piercing River finally realized there were traitors among the defenders trying to take him down. But as more players closed in on him, the system started boosting his health until it was 3 times the original amount. With one swing of his sword, Piercing River killed his first player, earning him 1 point. Everyone was amazed by his insane damage that could easily hit Waddy 300, which was a clear sign he had become a boss. Piercing River then took down a second player, followed by a third. In no time, the protagonist had racked up 13 points from his slaughter. Karo then charged straight at the young man, dealing 5,000 points of damage with one swing of his huge blade. The silver boss then asked the traitor if he remembered him. Piercing River remembered the guy as the fool from the beginner's village. Back then, the protagonist tricked him into thinking he was the only player around. But then a bunch of others showed up, including one who bought a beginner's set for 1,000 gold coins. But Piercing River reminded him they agreed on 2 coins back then, a price he was ready to pay now. However, since the deal would be off if Karo died, he suggested he take the money and run. Out of nowhere, 2 players jumped him from behind, but barely scratched his health. The backstabber was left confused, wondering just how tough the protagonist's defense really was. Pissed off by the sneak attack, Piercing River told them not to blame him for what was about to happen. Furious, Soldier Karo boiled over and charged at the young man who stayed cocky even facing danger. Just like that, they clashed swords and started trading heavy hits. Everyone around saw it as a brutal exchange where they couldn't jump in, and the hero seemed destined to lose with the lowest health bar. After 2 minutes of fighting, Piercing River, low on health, used Grasp of the Undead to freeze the silver tier boss for a second, then unleashed a flurry of sword strikes. Karo was unfazed and got ready to finish him off. But suddenly, Piercing River took out one of the attackers, scoring some EXP and leveling up to 29, fully restoring his health. The village guard remarked that the traitor was still clever, while the traitor shot back that the guard was as dumb as ever. With that, angry soldier Karo charged at the young man. But just then, the protagonist froze him for a second and dealt 547 damage with evil trampling, letting him unleash another wave of devastating strikes on the boss. Piercing River then decided to back off and heal up, using a health potion to be safe. Seeing this, the level 35 silver tier boss erupted in rage and activated his Fury skill, boosting his attack and speed for a minute. But the protagonist wasn't done yet. The Dark Swordsman charged at the attacking players, looking for more experience points. Daniel was sure that by the time he came back to life, his star pupil would be famous all over the continent. Then, something caught his eye. The necromancer said Brandy was a stubborn revenant, looking uneasy. After 4 minutes of Piercing River's rampage, his terrified target decided to give up and retreat. But one person stood firm against the threat. The shining knight with blonde hair was eager to take down the famous Dark Swordsman. One of the top players showed up, the level 25 Blazing Flame swordsman Kwaifeng Wutan, ready to clash. The young man was annoyed that his opponent also had a hidden class. Kwaifeng Wutan then claimed that defeating other hidden classes while having one himself would earn him nice rewards. Piercing River finally got what this new enemy was after. The Blazing Flame swordsman, jealous of the hero's skills, activated his Blazing Flame's Fury, massively boosting his stats for 120 seconds but losing 10 levels afterward. Piercing River realized Kwaifeng Wutan was risking it all to take him down. With one swing of his sword, the Blazing Flame swordsman dealt heavy damage to the Dark Swordsman, making him uneasy. The attackers aiming for the finishing blow were pumped to have such a strong ally who could finally match an expert like Han. So Piercing River decided to attack with evil trampling on his rival, dealing 8,547 damage and freezing him for 2 seconds. This scared Kwaifeng Wuchen, who quickly used Flame God's protection to boost his defense for 5 seconds. Our hero then went for Frenzied Slash, pushing the Blazing Flame swordsman to the brink of death. Terrified, a top player tried to escape, but the protagonist's undead grip froze him again for a second, making Kwaifeng Wufen call out for Tianyu, who was crucial for help. A green ray shot out, fully restoring the young man's health. This green ray was a magic spell called Holy Healing, cast by the holy priest Tianyu Kuwa, who was annoyed by the week-long cooldown on her skill. Piercing River realized she was also a hidden class. Kwaifeng Wutung then told all the priests in the back to focus on him while he weakened the target, letting everyone try for the finishing blow. Despite some doubts, the greedy players all agreed. So, with the healers behind him, the Blazing Flame swordsman challenged the Dark Swordsman to take him out with one swing. But Piercing River thought the real challenge was for Kwaifeng Wuken to take down his huge health before his buff ended. The rival swordsman got annoyed, as the protagonist started running around instead of facing him directly. Daniel was impressed with his student, who chose to wait until his opponent was weaker. After 2 minutes, Kwaifeng Wuken's level dropped from 25 to 15, leaving him vulnerable to the Dark Swordsman, who took him out and earned 10 points. Soon after, the Holy Priest fell to the same blade, giving the killer 8 points. With that, our hero leveled up again, hitting level 30. Seeing those hidden classes made him realize he wasn't the only skilled player in the game. Just then, the system announced that the 4th and 5th waves, led by the level 50 gold tier boss Ice Mage, Jennifer, and level 80 dark gold tier, boss Flame Mage Brandy would start soon. The mention of a level 80 boss freaked out the lower level players, making them think the real event was over, and the game's story was just getting started. Daniel, worried about his student, told him to retreat since the upcoming battle was way beyond his level. As he looked at the scoreboard with himself in first place, Piercing River decided to head back to the city since he had secured that spot. Suddenly, someone blocked his path. It was the player Sleepless, who claimed it was impossible to beat the Dark Swordsman with fair play. Piercing River realized this guy was second on the scoreboard and told him to move or face the consequences, but he didn't seem interested. Sleepless pulled out a scroll, ready to take down the infamous player. Piercing River was shocked and scared to see him pull out a forbidden spell scroll. Just like that, Sleepless ripped it open, unleashing its terrifying power to take out the powerful player. With that, the forbidden scroll's power, called Divine Thunder of the Nine Heavens, was unleashed, dealing 2,000 fixed damage to everything in a large area. A storm of lightning erupted, taking out both allies and enemies. When the lightning struck, our hero thought it was game over. With the huge explosion, Sleepless was sure he had locked in the hidden class. But Daniel jumped in at the last second, taking the hit and saying he had to stop Sleepless, who wiped out all his troops. Sleepless was totally confused as an NPC saved Piercing River from the forbidden spell's power. With that, Daniel took out the confused player. The pupil reminded the master he would survive thanks to the moon's shard, but the dark mage told him to save that power for tough times. Just then, master and student sensed something bad. The bosses from the 4th and 5th waves, along with their army, had finally shown up. The flame mage, Brandy, was here to settle the score with them. Noticing he couldn't see any of the old man's stats, the protagonist realized how huge the strength gap was. Cantor told the silver tier boss to fall back to the city, while he and the necromancer took on the 2 light mages. Piercing River was surprised that the dark forces were way more loyal than the light ones. Seeing this, Piercing River gripped his sword and asked the necromancer to handle the flame mage, while he and Contour dealt with the ice mage. But Daniel insisted on retreating to the city and waiting for a chance to escape. Piercing River turned down the request, determined to settle things with the old man now, so he wouldn't have to deal with him later. The teacher was speechless, but agreed to fight alongside his student, asking him to take on Jennifer while he faced Brandy. The Ice Mage was annoyed by the young man's boldness and decided to confront him while the old man battled the Dark Mage. Then, the Ice Legion attacked with their skill Storm and Rain, cutting through the players. Noticing the regular minions were all level 40, the defending players started to run away, while some chose to log out. This made Daniel order them to fall back to the city and get into better positions. So all the adventurers rushed back into the City of Darkness. The attacking bosses tried to catch the fleeing players before they got past the city walls. Then, the defending party shut the gates, trapping the bosses inside as the archers got ready. But their shots were useless, missing completely. The players weren't shocked by the dark gold boss immunity, but they didn't expect to be powerless against the Ice Mage too. Daniel tried to sneak up on Brandy, but the old man easily blocked his dark spell. Meanwhile, Jennifer was gearing up to face Cantor in Piercing River. The player suggested the knight charge first while he helped, and the knight agreed. So the undead knight used his charge skill, boosting his speed and allowing him to knock back the first enemy he hit in 10 seconds. But the gold boss put up an ice wall to protect herself. With that, Cantor and Piercing River charged at the wall. The player kicked it down, but the old ice mage easily blocked his big move, cutting the damage down to just 1. Piercing River was shocked to see a level 50 gold boss effortlessly countering his signature move. Jennifer then pointed out that while the skill was strong, the user was weak. Seeing this, Cantor charged straight at the old mage. She easily put out his fire with her ice projectiles. The player realized even his level 40 buddy was powerless against Jennifer. Faced with such a powerful ice mage, the young man feared they were doomed. But Cantor was set on keeping the fight going. Jennifer was annoyed by the undead knight's resolve and hit him again with her ice spell, slicing off his arm and dealing serious damage. The ice mage decided to finish off her helpless opponent when suddenly, the protagonist came flying in. Confident, she tried to block the attack with her bare hands. To her surprise, Piercing River's trampling hit for a massive 141,869 total damage. In that moment, pure rage filled the Dark Swordsman's eyes. Piercing River had his foot on the Ice Mage's face, his eyes cold as ice. Just a minute earlier, while struggling to get up, he thought about how much the Necromancer and Undead Knight had risked for him, fearing they'd all meet their end because of him. But the protagonist refused to accept his fate, knowing his death would mean the end of his character and the continent. Desperate, the Dark Swordsman decided to use one of the last 2 charges on the A-rank purple electric gem that boosts potential for a minute. So he used the gem again, boosting all his stats by 11 for 60 seconds. Everyone was stunned by the hero's attack power, wondering what item made him so strong. The Ice Mage couldn't believe the crazy strength coming from the weak young swordsman. This time, his signature move dealt over 140, zoo damage and froze her for 3 seconds, creating the perfect chance. Our hero unleashed a flurry of slashes on his target, dealing massive damage. Cantor was amazed by the young man until he was snapped back to reality by the hero calling his name. Then, the undead knight threw his spear, hitting the old mage in the heart and dealing huge damage. This made Jennifer call for the Flame Mage's help. Randy was shocked to see the protagonist push a gold tier boss to such a critical state, so the old man fired off a powerful fire blast. Still, the Dark Swordsman managed to dodge right away, letting the Flame Mage free his ally. But Piercing River wasn't done yet. The Ice Mage started running for her life as a giant hand of darkness reached for her. In the end, the undead's grasp held her for 3 seconds, leaving her no time to dodge Brandy's fire blast. The Ice Mage was in shock as most of her health got wiped out by friendly fire, leaving her in pain. Piercing River seized the moment and took her down himself. By taking her out, he leveled up 3 times and became the first player to kill a gold tier boss. He got the Eye of Insight skill, 30 free stat points, and 7,500 reputation now. Our hero was level 33. Piercing River decided to announce his achievement to snag an extra 10,000 reputation points. This amazing feat caught the attention and awe of all the nearby players. Our hero stored the loot in his inventory to check later after the battle. This made the old man furious. The level 80 Dark Gold tier boss used Flame Shield, absorbing a quarter of his health to block physical hits. Piercing River tried to hit hard while still under the A rank gem's effect, but none of his attacks did any damage, making him realize that even with his boosted power, he couldn't touch the old man. Daniel told his student to fall back since the Flame Mage was too strong, but the pupil was more worried about his master. After downing an elixir to regain some health, the Necromancer admitted he was struggling to keep fighting. Randy was more determined than ever to take them both out right then and there. The old man unleashed Sea of Flames, dealing 1/10 of his attack power as damage to nearby enemies every second, and slowing them for 2 minutes. Nearby players and skeletons started to burn. Piercing River, no longer under the purple electric gem's effect, realized Brandy's firepower was 15,850 based on the damage he was taking. As he drank a healing elixir, he thought about how the old man outclassed him in every way, even with the A rank gem that had sadly worn off. Just then, the master told Cantor and Piercing River to get out of the damaged area while he handled Brandy, but Piercing River refused to leave his mentor and started looking for an opening. The Flame Mage was fed up with the emotional moments between Daniel and his student, so the level 80 Dark Gold tier boss unleashed a massive flame to finish them off. But at the last second, Cantor pushed him away, taking the full 8 and 71, 008 points of damage. Just like that, the kind undead knight fell. Cantor wanted to save the young dark swordsman because he had a bright future ahead. So, the teacher grabbed his student and dashed away from the danger, finally escaping the fiery zone. Piercing River then decided to give the purple electric gem to his master. But Damel couldn't use it since necromancers are part of the dead. The relentless Brandy then launched another powerful fire blast that looked like a demon as it came at our heroes. So, the necromancer chose to counter the spell with his dark magic. The clash was so intense it cracked the ground and knocked the protagonist off his feet. Brandy said the dark mage could have held out longer if he hadn't protected his student from the forbidden scroll. But Daniel wasn't having any of it. Piercing River was scared of being a burden, so he started searching his inventory for a way out. Then, something caught the young man's eye. He found the S-rank skill book, Eye of Insight, which he got from taking down the Ice Mage. This would boost his scouting skills and let him spot enemy weaknesses. Since it could reveal foes 50 levels above him, unlike the basic scouting skill, our hero decided to learn it right away. So he activated his new S-rank skill, revealing all of Brandy's impressive stats and that he was a spirit-level mage who felt a dark gold tier after losing his prime and hunted necromancers to regain his peak. But Eye of Insight also showed his weak point. Because of his age, the old man was really low on stamina. Piercing River quickly told his teacher and asked him to drag out the fight as long as he could. Daniel got what his student was aiming for and ordered all the skeleton soldiers to charge at the Flame Mage. A swarm of undead warriors then rushed to attack the Dark Gold tier boss. But Brandy easily overpowered their numbers with his magic. The old man pointed out that even with his low endurance and age, the skeleton soldiers were still no match for him. So the dark soldiers were burned to ashes by the Flame Mage. The necromancer then said that even with his bad stamina, it would be tough to wear him out with just the skeleton soldiers, claiming the attacks would keep coming as long as he was still alive. Thinking his master was planning a heroic sacrifice, the young man reminded him they only had a shot if they both stayed alive. The dark mage then said both dark and light wanted to win this fight, making the young man wonder if a 6th wave was coming. Brandy then unleashed another huge fire attack. As a giant hand of flames reached him, the necromancer admitted he was facing his end for now, but insisted on helping his student take down the mage, who hated him so much. Just like that, the dark mage managed to counter the powerful flames. Piercing River was shocked to see his dying teacher suddenly acting like this. Out of nowhere, a dark spiral appeared in the clouds, and a pitch-black ray came down, hitting the Dark Mage and giving him a mysterious blessing that boosted all his stats 100-fold. With that, Daniel, the Necromancer, was ready to unleash his full power. Brandy couldn't believe his eyes. Daniel started praising his young student and told him not to be sad about his death, saying they would meet again if the young one managed to survive. And with that, he launched a single attack, dealing an insane amount of damage to the old man. Just like that, the Flame Mage's long life finally came to an end. But just then, all of the Necromancer's stats mysteriously went back to normal as he began to fall apart. Piercing River was worried for his Kindcher who told him to escape while he still could, when suddenly, someone showed up on the roof. This person had shiny boots on. The one who was as impressed by the Death Mage's last move was none other than the hidden boss, Holy Knight Herbert, triggered by the old man's death. Seeing this, Piercing River quickly used his musketing skill. But to his shock, Herbert's stats and intro were nowhere to be seen, showing just how strong this new boss was. The Holy Knight was eager to take down a Necromancer and a Dark Swordsman. Daniel pointed out that everyone knew the Light Church collected Death Mage's bodies, causing disasters later. But Herbert said it was none of his concern as he summoned his weapon. Just like that, a golden spear appeared. Before turning to Piercing River and praising his loyalty despite being on the wrong side, he decided to let him say his last words. Frozen in fear, the young man was speechless, realizing how powerless he was against the Holy Knight. Seeing the young man stay quiet, the hidden boss was ready to deal a finishing blow. But just then, a purple blade stopped the golden spear. The undead swordsman managed to block the Holy Knight's attack. Master and student watched. Cheryl jumped into the fight, noticing how the Revenant easily blocked his strike. Herbert asked him who he was and about his past life. But Cheryl stayed quiet and grabbed the young man. As he made his escape, Daniel watched his student get taken to safety. As he burned away, the kind teacher believed his star pupil would become famous across the continent. And as he took his last breath, the Necromancer turned into a dark blue marble. Herbert picked up the remains, and the gates of the fallen City of Darkness opened. Everyone in the Light faction bowed to the powerful Holy Knight, who called for a higher bounty on Piercing River. With that, the City of Darkness was reclaimed by the Light faction, and since they defended against 5 waves, their points were doubled. Meanwhile, some defenders recorded the crazy events that just went down and decided to retreat before getting killed by the conquerors. One of those players uploaded the video, sure it would get good views. Meanwhile, the undead swordsman kept running until he reached the Swamp of Ghosts, admitting he was sent by Daniel to save his student when the time came, which is why he hid in the city. But the shaken pupil wanted to know why he didn't save his master. Cheryl explained that Daniel triggered a heavenly event called the Necromancer's Last Strike, leaving him frozen and seconds from death, but that wasn't the end. Piercing River wanted to know more, so Cheryl revealed that since Necromancers were crucial to the Light faction, saving Daniel would have led to all their deaths, as Herbert wasn't the only strong unit in the city. Hearing this only made Piercing River more curious about his late teacher's identity. But from now on, his new master would be Cheryl, though he had to pass a trial first. So, he took on the treasure hunt as his test, thinking about how he could meet up with Daniel if he survived long enough. He wanted to get stronger and find all the answers. The B rank mission was to locate the treasure hidden by the undead swordsman at the map's end, or pay 10 gold coins if he failed. Cheryl sent Piercing River off, telling him to finish the mission fast before vanishing. Then the system notified him that thanks to his achievement, he earned 3,000,000 EXP along with the dark gold items, breeze ring, and black scale bracers, and switched to Undead Swordsman. As he hit level 36, Piercing River thought about how generous the rewards were, even though he was on the losing side. But then, the system told him that the bounty on his head went up, offering super rare items along with a unique hidden class and an S-rank skill book. All the players were excited to see the bounty on their target increase. At first, our hero thought life would be easier with the old man's death, but his new bounty would just attract more players to chase him. Piercing River was set on getting revenge on the Holy Knight the next time they crossed paths. He decided to check the loot from the attacking party, starting with Karo's gear and his silver tier heroic boots, which were given to great generals in Tanhai Town as a sign of power. The silver tier's sharp sword was a weapon that the furious soldier Karo really liked. The items he got would be great assets for our hero. Piercing River chose to sell the ring and sword since they weren't as good as his own, but kept the boots. He then went on to check the defense rewards. The protagonist got the dark gold tier breeze ring, which had a C tier skill that cuts down damage from a single incoming attack by 80% every 5 minutes. Hem was thrilled with this amazing ring, which had firepower equal to his gold tier sword plus the C tier skill. He quickly put on the ring before checking the other gold tier reward. The black scale bracers were way better than what our hero already had. These new pieces of gear would be super helpful for the Dark Swordsman, and since he completed the siege battle, his title HP bonus was boosted, tripling his life points. Piercing River was pumped to have such great attack power. Then he saw an unconfirmed message from the system, asking if he wanted to switch to an undead swordsman, which he turned down since he had the better class with great growth. After refusing, the system offered to replace the hidden class with a skill or equipment of his choice. He decided to get a new skill since equipment can wear out, but skills last forever. Plus, the hero hoped for a powerful skill that matched the hidden class he turned down. Just like that, the young man got the S-rank skill Warzone from a Lee class, which boosts allies and weakens enemies in a limited area for 3 minutes every 5 minutes. The impressed young man rushed to learn this powerful skill before opening the map and starting the treasure hunt, leading him to the lava mountain range. Piercing River was shocked to see that, according to the map, the treasure was at the top of a volcano. Suddenly, a giant stone creature burst from the ground and attacked the Dark Swordsman. But Piercing River dodged the massive attack at the last second before using his scouting skill on the creature. He was facing a level 38 lava rock monster with better defense than attack, making it no threat to our hero. This was the perfect chance for him to try out Warzone, boosting his attack by 20% and lowering the monster's attack by the same amount for the next 3 minutes. With that, the young man struck the Lavabot rock monster, dealing 15,547 damage and catching it off guard. The monster rolled over and activated its Petrify skill, raising its defense but lowering its attack for 2 minutes. Piercing River wasn't impressed as the monster basically left itself wide open. After a minute of fighting, the lava rock monster finally went down, giving its slayer 20,500 experience points. While that was decent, the protagonist knew he had to take down 480 more lava rock monsters to level up. As he climbed higher, it got hotter. But then the young man spotted something. He noticed a group of monsters nearby. Level 40 sharp-mouth fire apes, known as some of the most hated creatures on the continent. He was shocked to find out they could provoke players like him. Suddenly, one of them spotted him and alerted the others. They started mocking his name and looks, saying the weak-looking player must have dodged the lava rock monsters to get this far. The mockery got to Piercing River, who charged at the fire apes, determined to take them down. He activated Warzone again to boost his attack and weaken his enemies for 3 minutes. The sharp-mouth fire apes threw rocks at him, causing some damage, but the hero shrugged it off, saying those rocks couldn't hurt him. He then slashed at the big mouth monsters, showing no mercy. With a furious look, he offered the smallest ape a chance to redeem itself, which the scared monster quickly accepted. The Dark Swordsman then asked it to lead him to the other fire apes. So the little one was ordered to take the lead. Just like that, the young man began to follow his captive. But then, the system notified him that the talent ranking was out since many players had gotten one. The list showed the protagonist's skill at the top. Seeing he had an SS rank skill made him feel pretty superior to the others. The sharp mouth fire apes were surprised to see our hero approaching. Just as one started to mock him, an angry Piercing River took the ape out with a single swing of his sword. After 2 minutes, the hostage looked stunned by his ally's defeat. With that, the Dark Swordsman ordered the fire ape to lead him to the rest. The ground shook as the sharp-mouthed fire ape wondered about his clan's Terminator before leaping into the air. Suddenly, the level 42 gold tier boss, the sharp-mouthed fire ape king, landed right in front of our hero. Piercing River, even after leveling up, wasn't sure he could handle another gold boss since he only beat Jennifer thanks to an A rank gem, which wouldn't help here. The hostage told the king that this player was behind all the chaos. Piercing River then decided to get rid of the little fire ape, which made the king furious, and he raised his fists. Our hero chose to fight first and planned a backup move just in case things went south. The sharp-mouthed fire ape king's attack smashed the ground, but Piercing River dodged and hit the gold boss with evil trampling, freezing him for half a second and dealing 16,570 damage. Piercing River wasn't impressed by the weak gold tier boss. The Ape King then used his skill, Ultimate Taunt, to lower the player's attack by 5%, but it also gave him a chance to respond and gain a buff or debuff. Piercing River realized he was in a roast battle, so the Fire Ape clan killer jokingly said, "The sharp-mouthed Fire Ape King must be super strong if all his subjects felt safe under him." This ticked off the gold boss and lowered his defense by 10%, and our hero was pumped to see the monster's defense drop as he charged in and slashed. But the sharp-mouthed Fire King ape just called him a weakling. To his surprise, that response made the king lose a chunk of his attack power, even though it didn't seem to bother him. Then, our hero claimed that all the female fire apes were disgusted by the gold-tier boss, which made him furious, dropping his defense to 80 and speeding up his attacks. In a fit of rage, the Ape King attacked the young man, forcing him to use the Ring Breeze Guard to lessen the damage since he couldn't dodge in time. The young man got knocked back. The damage was still manageable, but the Dark Swordsman felt sorry for his opponent's strength and kept trash-talking the gold-tier boss while attacking. This non-stop stream of insults made the sharp-mouthed Fire Ape King really vulnerable to damage. Piercing River was glad to see his opponent getting discouraged before he could unleash the real insults. Just like that, the young man took down the level 42 gold-tier boss, earning 1,800,000 experience points and 20 points, plus the hidden title of King of Taunts. This new title would let him make his enemies more vulnerable to damage or boost their attack, depending on their nature with verbal jabs. But our hero chose to stick with his original title for now. As our hero hit level 37, he checked the loot drop by the boss. He got the gold tier item Flame Helmet and the Flame Dagger, which had great offense but could also hurt the user. Even though the dagger was stronger than his current weapon, our hero decided to wait for a sword, since his class worked best with that type of blade. So he kept heading toward the treasure. From this height, the intense heat of the mountain would start dealing 10 damage every second. Luckily for our hero, his death factor let him heal faster than he could take damage. Just then, Piercing River arrived at the spot marked on the treasure map. He pulled out the long wooden stick, which was basically the weapon of a woman with a broken heart. Piercing River, expecting a valuable reward, realized Cheryl just used that simple item as a marker for the task. So, he decided to head back to the undead swordsman to turn in the quest. But then, our hero started to transform into his true form. The sudden awakening of his dark swordsman powers hinted that someone similar was nearby, making him think the real treasure wasn't just that long wooden stick. So he walked toward the source, getting closer. Before he knew it, and without seeing anything unusual, he figured the treasure was right under him. He used his sword like a shovel and hit something while digging, and there was indeed something buried. Piercing River discovered the hidden map called the Tower of God Suppression, an intact structure lost to time, rumored to be a battleground against evil. Our hero wasn't sure if this map was safe, even if it was said to be a battleground for strong warriors. But to really move forward in the game, he had to risk his avatar's life, so he stepped into the tower. He entered the tower and suddenly bumped into a mysterious black mass. Fearing the worst, the young man quickly activated his ring's power. Just like that, weakened by the Flame Demon God's restriction, he lost most of his health. He only survived thanks to Breeze Guard, so he decided to use his death factor to heal up before continuing his exploration. After a bit, his health was fully restored, and with the ring's cooldown ending, he chose to be more careful. But even while moving slowly, he triggered another trap, forcing him to use Breeze Guard to avoid certain death, wiping out most of his health again. Piercing River realized the source pulling him in must be down those stairs. After 5 minutes, his health was fully restored, and the ring skill was ready to go. He continued on. Piercing River was glad to see that not every tile was a hidden trap. But then, our hero triggered another restriction from the Flame Demon God, taking the same heavy damage. After 30 long minutes, he finally reached the stairs. But something stopped him. To his surprise, there was an invisible wall blocking his path. The wall seemed immune to sword attacks, making him wonder if there was a secret entrance. Suddenly, the moon fragment he had started to glow and float, mysteriously granting him passage through the wall, leaving him to wonder if the last owner of the moon shard had set up this obstacle. The sword marks along the way suggested a fierce battle had taken place. As he moved on, he spotted a human silhouette nearby. This silhouette was none other than the corpse of the past demon god, Soul Reaper Carl, who had quietly met his end in this hidden map. Piercing River felt a wave of fear, imagining the divine being hidden in the tower that could take down a demon god. He was also bummed to find out he couldn't loot the powerful corpse. The same presence seemed to be deeper in the tower, so he went further down as the energy grew stronger. But then, he noticed something. Piercing River stepped into a dark hall filled with the bones of fallen warriors. He also spotted the remains of what looked like powerful light warriors. Realizing this was no basic map, he understood he had reached the 4th floor. Suddenly, dark energy surged, draining 800 life points every second from Sword Intent, making him think the presence was nearby. Just then, he noticed something not far off. Piercing River stumbled upon the corpse of Lu Yi, the Dark Swordsman and a past demon god who had a huge impact on the continent, but died in this tower. Now he was face to face with his predecessor, thinking the armor was what brought him here. This made him think he could easily grab the legendary armor. As he reached for it, he said Lu Yi could rest easy, knowing he would carry on the title of Dark Swordsman. When suddenly, something started to speak to him. Piercing River asked it to show itself. Suddenly, a dark, powerful aura began to rise from Lu Yi's corpse. The protagonist couldn't believe his eyes as his predecessor's spirit appeared, introducing himself as the proud name's former bearer, making Piercing River feel ashamed of his claim. The ghost said he wasn't offended, but would only give up his armor if the young man could beat him in sword skill at his peak, offering the challenge of the Phantom. Piercing River realized the system wasn't as generous as it seemed and accepted the Hama to the challenge. Now he had to face the level 37 gold tier boss, Dark Swordsman Luo. But as the ghost charged at him, he asked it to hold on, noticing that the Revenant, despite being level 37, could use Dark Reincarnation, which was usually for level 50 Dark Swordsmen. Luo Yi said he didn't know why he could do that, since he didn't have a clear memory after death, but Piercing River didn't buy it. He then used his Warzone skill to boost his attack by 20% and weaken the Revenant by 10% for 3 minutes as he tried to strike. Luo Yi was impressed by the young man's skills and asked about his tutor, but Piercing River claimed he was his own master, a lie even a Revenant could see through. Piercing River then raised his foot and kicked his predecessor's face with evil trampling, holding him for a second and dealing 26,546 damage, followed by Necro Slash and Grasp of the Undead. Then he used Frenzied Slash to hit the former Dark Swordsman hard, making Luo Yi praise him for his talent, as he dealt more damage than Luo did in the past with average gear. He mentioned it was due to his talent called Domineering, and that he had to restore the Dark Swordsman's glory, making him seem arrogant to his predecessor, which is why Luo decided to make the challenge tougher. The Revenant's avatar then started to radiate an even stronger evil aura. Piercing River felt the shift and had to use his ring's power, as he didn't have time to dodge, taking 33,430 damage. Piercing River couldn't help but notice the strength of the old title holder. Without the ring, his life points would have been cut in half. Luo Yi then explained that their journey would be much tougher than this fight. He warned him to be ready because the worst was yet to come. Luo Yi used Dark Reincarnation to greatly boost his stats for 5 minutes, but would lose 10 levels afterward. Seeing this, the protagonist realized he couldn't face him head-on anymore. Luo Yi's stats had all skyrocketed. So the Revenant charged forward, trying to grab him from behind. With that, he hit the young man for 43,869 points of damage. As he downed a healing elixir, the young man was shocked by the power of just one hit. Lu Yi then unleashed his Dark Wave again, which our hero couldn't dodge. But he didn't give up. He jumped to dodge it. Then he used Evil Trampling on his opponent, boosting his speed, freezing the Revenant for a moment, and dealing some solid damage. Our hero then used Necro Slash to slow speed for 2 seconds and dealt 8,963 points of damage. But the Revenant wasn't done yet and tried to counterattack. Piercing River felt relieved seeing the ghost slow down as he dodged the sword slash. Our hero then used Grasp of the Undead and slashed Lu's avatar again. The former Dark Swordsman was impressed by his successor's control skills. Knowing all the ghost's moves made him easier to predict. The young man decided to play it safe and created some distance before the effects wore off. When Lu Yi suddenly used a boosted skill, forcing him to hide behind a nearby pillar, Piercing River barely dodged a fierce slash that smashed the stone pillar. If he had taken that hit, he would have been done for. But then the Phantom leaped into the air and slashed our hero, nearly dealing 90,000 points of damage. Lu Yi wanted to see how Piercing River would handle the next attacks. The young man realized just how strong his opponent was before noticing he could use Evil Trampling again. So, he jumped into the air. Before using Evil Trampling again, boosting his speed, freezing his enemy, and dealing a lot of damage. He then used Necro Slash, dodged the Revenant's blade, and followed up with Grasp of the Undead and Frenzied Slash. As the control effects were fading, the young man decided to back off. But to his surprise, his enemy had built up a resistance to control skills, making them much less effective. Caught off guard, Piercing River couldn't dodge the incoming slash. Even though the move's shard would save him from defeat, he was sure he wouldn't pass this test. With that, our hero took 23,679 points of damage. Becky looked confused as he somehow survived that powerful slash. Luckily, the Dark Reincarnation effect had just worn off, dropping his opponent's level to 27, which is why Liu couldn't finish Piercing River with one hit, forcing him to try a second. But the young men easily blocked it. The protagonist said Liu Yi couldn't face him head-on anymore, telling him to hide while his skills reset. So Liu Yi, now at Piercing River's mercy, took 23,657 points of damage. The hero unleashed a brutal flurry of sword strikes. In the end, he leaped into the air, ready for one last slash. Piercing River broke the Phantom's sword, then sliced him in half, winning the fight and scoring 1,000,000 experience points. This pushed him to level 38, impressing Liu Yi with his smarts and bravery. With that, the mission wrapped up. The Dark Swordsman had to keep his end of the deal, giving the young man 500, 0 experience points, and some gold-tier dark armor that feeds on blood. So our hero got a piece of divine gear. Piercing River now had a super strong god-tier dark armor with a built-in skill and the ability to evolve. Basically, this gear was meant to go beyond gold tier and had a powerful skill. It came with the S-rank skill Terrifying Presence, which unleashed a dragon's soul, dealing damage equal to the user's attack and slowing nearby enemies with a 5-minute cooldown. Piercing River was pumped about this awesome area skill he just got. Liu Yi then asked if the young man was happy with his reward. The excited young man admitted he was thrilled by its power, saying it was beyond words, catching the old owner's interest. Piercing River felt it was made just for him. This annoyed the previous owner, who decided to leave since his armor was now passed on. But Piercing River wasn't finished with him yet. Liu Yi looked annoyed. The hero asked if he could take his weapon. Rifan explained that this blade had lost its strength over time, but he said he didn't mind the hero taking it. All he wanted was for him to return the jade pendant to a young girl. So the young man activated the side quest to return the jade pendant. Until now, the only must-do mission he had was to defend the City of Darkness. All other quests were optional. The hero accepted this rank's side quest to return the pendant to its rightful owner in place of the late Dark Swordsman. Even though Phantom didn't know her name, he had a brief romantic moment with her. Liu Yi revealed that this person used a fake name, and since she wielded a sword, the Phantom guessed she was from the Sword Pavilion. The hero asked where that was, and the Dark Swordsman said it was hidden in Kingfing Town to avoid the prince's troubles. The young man realized he could gather important info about missions just by chatting, but with a huge bounty on his head, the Trader of Light worried about how to enter the town without being recognized. But Lugia had a simple fix. He would teach him a skill to hide his evil aura called Stealth Art, which the young man quickly agreed to. This rank skill would make it harder for players up to 20 levels lower than him to see his level or name for 24 hours every 3 days, making his job a lot easier. Seeing that the soul's time was running out, Liu Yi asked if the young man wanted more answers. Piercing River then asked him about the moon fragment. The Phantom was shocked by the mysterious item, but even more confused to find out someone had given it to the young man, meaning he had met a specific person. The young man worried that Liu Yi might vanish before he got his answer. Liu Yi revealed that this person was the terrifying force that killed all the great warriors whose bodies were in this tower, including him. As he faded away, he said this man owned the moon fragment, making the young man wonder how strong his old teacher had been back in the day, explaining why he kept his past a secret since he was the one who took down the previous Dark Swordsman. Yet Piercing River was puzzled since he meant to train him as his successor instead of hating him. But all these questions would surely be answered another time. For now, the young man needed to return the pendant to its owner, so he grabbed it from Louis's corpse, making it disappear, leaving just the sword. The bloody sword, which had lost most of its power with its lifesteal and blood drink skills, would be useless if the side quest wasn't finished in 3 days, and would only work once it was. So our hero took the spirit level blade. Its a rank skill would let the user boost the weapon's power by 1% for each kill, up to 20%, lasting until the fight ended. The bloody sword was pretty special, which made its new owner happy. In the end, our hero was glad to have climbed the lava mountain when suddenly a mysterious voice demanded that Piercing River give up the item. The voices were coming from below, meaning the place was inhabited. Piercing River was then hit by some strange blue flames, which is why he decided to escape since these forces were too much for him. So Rihiro chose to run from the lower floors he wasn't ready for yet, feeling satisfied with his loot. Piercing River managed to reach the exit after 30 minutes. He also decided to mark the spot so he could come back later. But just then, he spotted a giant fire serpent right behind him. So he used Eye of Insight to check out the giant reptile, which turned out to be a level 42 normal monster, lava python. The young man found it funny since it was called the dominant species of the map, even though it had weaker stats than him. So our hero dodged the lava python's first attack, then used Evil Trampling to deal 36,785 damage, followed by a Fierce Sword Slash, and then unleashed Frenzied Flash. Just like that, the Dark Swordsman easily took down the giant, fiery reptile, boosting the young man's confidence and arrogance. Han then noticed it was past 02 after midnight, so he decided to turn in the quest before getting some sleep. He returned to his teacher's side. Cheryl saw that the young man had finished the quest, giving him 800,000 experience points and the right to call the undead swordsman his master. But Cheryl couldn't help but notice that his new student had gotten stronger on his trip to the lava mountain. As Piercing River hit level 39, Cheryl felt relieved since he was planning to plant another stick for the young man to find, but this power boost meant he could skip that task. Piercing River thought this stick-fetching training method was pretty weird. He then told the undead swordsman he was on a side quest, catching his interest. The young man showed his master the pendant and said he was supposed to return it to its owner. Cheryl looked surprised when she saw the pendant and quickly asked if it was from the sword pavilion. The young man confirmed it and then asked his master for more info about the pendant. After thinking for a bit, the undead swordsman revealed that he and the pendant both came from the sword pavilion. The young man was shocked to find out his masters had ties to the sword pavilion before he was brought back to life. He explained that every girl there had a similar jewel to give to the guy who wins her heart. With that, Piercing River realized that Lu Yi got this pendant as a way for the girl to show her love. Cheryl added that the owner of this pendant must be pretty special, considering how unique it was. This made Piercing River ask his teacher if this side quest would be dangerous. But the undead swordsman brushed off the question, saying it was fate. Cheryl mentioned that his sword also came from the same place and needed to be returned, which is why they'd head there together tomorrow. He then told the young man to get some rest since his last mission had clearly worn him out. With that, Han logged out. The next day at noon, he returned to his gear, letting Piercing River back into the game. With that, he and his master were set to leave, so they headed to the Sword Pavilion. Piercing River was curious about how Cheryl felt about him logging in and out of reality. The undead swordsman said it was just a blessing from the god of space, and time that let adventurers return to their proper place, which intrigued the young man. Suddenly, they entered the City of Radiance, formerly known as the City of Darkness, leaving him confused. The city was heavily guarded by Light Faction soldiers. Cheryl said they needed to use the teleportation array in this city to get to their destination, so he asked his pupil if he could hide his evil aura, which he confirmed. With that, he decided to test his stealth skill as the system prompted him to create a fake profile. But by mistake, the young man said his fake name as fake name, leaving him stuck with a silly name and look for 24 hours. Cheryl was laughing hard, saying that the level 50 soldiers shouldn't see through his disguise. But fake name didn't go unnoticed in the city, as his ridiculous look and name became a joke, making him feel like a target of Lua's humor. Cheryl then asked to be teleported to Kingfeng Town. The mage asked for 60 silver for the teleport, and then he started chanting his spell. Just like that, our heroes finally reached Kingfeng Town, a Tier 3 town where the sword pavilion was hidden, making the young man think the map he wanted was still out of reach. Cheryl suggested entering the pavilion at night for more comfort, which the young man agreed to. He then said they could explore the town in the meantime, so Piercing River mentioned he wanted to buy more potions, and the teacher took him to the potion shop. Once there, the seller greeted them and asked what they needed. Since Piercing River had saved up 236 gold coins, he asked for the best potion, thinking he could indulge a bit. The old man pointed to a bottle of holy water that cost 50,000 gold coins, which could restore 100th of the user's health every second for 10 seconds, with a 3-minute cooldown. Shocked by the crazy price, our hero asked for a potion that didn't break the bank, so he went with the 50 silver coin healing potion and a cure potion for 1 gold coin. As they left the shop, Cheryl mentioned that Kingfeng Town had some hidden masters, which explained the pricey items. Suddenly, they heard a scream from a nearby alley. A creepy swordsman was trying to attack an innocent girl. Piercing River thought about stepping in. Since both the victim and the attacker were NPCs, stepping in wouldn't lead to serious consequences. So, the protagonist took on the hidden mission cool as the wind and decided to jump in to earn some cool points by scaring the guy or impressing the girl. Fake Name started calling out the guy for acting like that in broad daylight, but the thug just mocked Fake Name's bald head, costing him 5 cool points. This made the young man mad, letting him earn 1 point by intimidating the thug. The swordsman tried to scare the protagonist with his status, but Piercing River attempted to use his name to intimidate the thug, who didn't recognize him. Piercing River then's fake name was just a cover since he wasn't worthy of his real name, and he used his scouting skill on him. It turned out this guy was the level 50 Dark Gold boss, Notorious Bai Fu, the mayor's son who got kicked out of the sword pavilion for attacking female students. Piercing River was stunned to see his mission opponent was a Dark Gold level boss, almost as tough as the level 8 Flame Mage. Bai Fu got suspicious about Fake Name's real identity, giving the player 5 more cool points as he challenged him to a fight. But Piercing River said the thug wasn't worth his blade and told the confused Cheryl, his so-called servant, to deal with the guy. Even though he was mad, the undead swordsman played along and agreed to chase the guy off. Both the girl and Bai Fu figured Fake Name must be someone important to have someone as tough as Cheryl with him. With that, Bai Fu took off, feeling humiliated, while Fake Name earned 30 cool points. The great undead swordsman was annoyed to be dragged into this by his student. Piercing River also got 20 more cool points for impressing the girl. He decided to move on before Bai Fu came back with backup. But the impressed girl wanted to know her hero's real name. She was left speechless when Piercing River, who earned 510,000, took on the name of the late necromancer. So he decided to hit up the auction house to sell some extra gear. Later, at 8 p.m. in front of the fortress, Cheryl and Piercing River were ready to sneak in. And so, our heroes jumped into the sword pavilion. The hero was surprised to find a Chinese-style structure inside Eternity, like the sword pavilion, where getting caught by NPCs meant instant death. Cheryl then told him to head to the sword vault in the east, where he'd find help while she went to the sword forging pool to get his blade back. The Dark Swordsman was curious about this mysterious helper, so his master revealed it was the new sword god, whom he hadn't met yet, but who shouldn't oppose the young man, given his noble goal. But Piercing River, who told him to be careful, was a bit worried since this was an S-rank mission. Cheryl reassured him he'd be fine because he had a score to settle. The player had to be super sneaky since any NPC in the pavilion could easily take him out, so he crept past the guards. After a moment, he found himself in front of the sword vault. Piercing River was unsure if the sword god would take him out as soon as he stepped in. Facing such a powerful enemy, our young hero decided to be up front, but to his surprise, the god's presence had messed with his stealth skill. Now, the protagonist was in a golden room where the sword deity, whose name he didn't know, was calmly reading a book. It seemed like the deity recognized him. To Piercing River's surprise, the sword deity turned out to be a goddess. He was more worried that she knew him, while he had only heard of her and her high-level skills from Daniel. The sword goddess explained that if the undead swordsman had killed the Holy Knight during the siege, she would have led his 7th wave. This made him realize that since Cheryl was linked to the sword pavilion, he had known about the sword goddess, whom he thought of as the strong figure hiding in the city back then. Piercing River guessed the deity must have some cool books. The one she was reading was called The Domineering Sword God Fell For Me. The lady, surprisingly into romance novels, said he could read it once she was done, but he turned it down. Piercing River then showed her the pendant and asked for help finding its owner. The sword goddess was stunned by the jewel and got up to hold it carefully. She then asked the young man how he got it. Piercing River said he got it from his predecessor. The sword goddess was shocked, thinking Lu Yi might still be alive. But then she realized that couldn't be true since she was talking to the current Dark Swordsman. This made the young man understand that a new Dark Swordsman could only rise in eternity after the last one fell, explaining he met Lu Yi as a revenant soul. Seeing the sword goddess knew who the pendant belonged to, he left the rest to her and said goodbye. But suddenly, our hero felt a blade near his neck. The sword deity wasn't going to let him go easily, just as he expected. He pointed out that the task should be labeled Esarang if he had to face the sword deity, and he started begging for his life, ready to pay any price. The sword goddess chuckled and said, Piercing River might have to pay a big price then. The scared protagonist suggested taking a hit from her blade and leaving safely if he survived. The sword goddess said that since she was part of the Light faction, letting the traitor go would stir up trouble with the Super City. Piercing River argued that he was just here to return the pendant to a girl, and killing him would make her feel guilty and hurt her sword heart, but she thought that was just some kind of heart problem. Our hero was confused by her straightforwardness, and then the goddess burst out laughing. saying she was just messing with him and it wouldn't be right to kill him, considering how noble he was. It wasn't that simple. Since sparing his life would make the sword pavilion look bad, she said she'd let him go if he could beat her in a fight after she leveled up to Silver Tier. So, the old quest of returning the jewel turned into an S-rank mission called Challenge the Sword God, where he had to defeat the goddess Dongfeng Yixin at silver level. Seeing the challenge seemed fair, the young man decided to take it on. Dongfeng Yixin then transported them to a wasteland that was better for their battle. So our hero had to take down the silver tier level 39 sword god, Dongfeng Yixin, the ruler of the pavilion and a key player in the light faction, even respected by royalty. Piercing River noticed one of her skills had forbidden in its name, which meant it was likely super powerful. Dongfeng Yixin wanted to finish the duel quickly, so she threw her weapon at the young man using sword mastery, boosting her attack speed and range with no cooldown. Impressed by her first skill, the young man quickly used Grasp of the Undead to freeze the weapon for a moment before hitting it with evil trampling. Dongfeng Yixin recognized that this skill was fancier than anything she'd seen in the City of Darkness, so she called her blade back. But to her surprise, her blade was stuck in the ground, so she summoned another sword and charged at the young man, forcing him to use War Domain to boost his attack while lowering the sword deity's power. But just then, the protagonist got hit by Dongfeng Yixin's blade, taking 16,457 points of damage. The Divine Maiden was surprised as her opponent locked her blade in his chest before countering with a flurry of sword slashes. Dongfeng Yixin quickly dodged the last slash and stepped back. She realized her opponent was risking everything to win. Piercing River then unleashed his new skill, Terrifying Presence, leaving the sword goddess stunned as a massive dragon made of dark energy appeared, dealing 36,174 points of damage and slowing her attacks and movement by 20% for 3 seconds. The Dark Swordsman chose to attack while Dongfeng Yixin was slowed, forcing her to use Break Strike to cut the damage down to a fifth. With that, she took only 17,431 points of damage. Then she called back her original blade, gripping it firmly before unleashing a powerful light slash that made the young man rely on the ring's power, reducing the damage to just 43,200. Dongfeng Yixin was shocked by how little damage that was, making her think her opponent wasn't just a regular silver tier boss. So, she decided to end the duel. She admitted that the young man was way stronger than her at silver level without using any forbidden spells. With that, our hero completed the S-rank quest, earning enough experience points to hit level 40, and move up to gold level, upgrading his title from Dark Master to the Dark Master. This surprised the victorious player since the sword goddess still had most of her health left and hadn't even used her other skills. Dongfeng Yixin explained she never meant to take out the young player since he was just there to return a jewel. So, the duel was just a formality to follow the game's rules. As the young man thought it was strange to hear characters complain about their game, the sword goddess decided to let him go. She said the Chaos Prologue would kick off once he left her area, which got the young man curious. Dongfeng Yixin explained it was destiny for him to return the pendant, and that the tension between the two factions was growing, with the siege showing that the light was ready. Piercing River asked for more info, but suddenly he found himself outside the sword vault, leaving him speechless for a moment. So, he decided to quickly back off. He was then asked if he finished his side quest, which he confirmed to his teacher, who seemed happier than usual. With that, the teacher suggested they head home. After 2 hours, they finally reached the Swamp of Ghosts, where the teacher thanked his student, leaving him curious. Cheryl explained that by leaving the Sword Pavilion, he was finally free to join the Dark Faction, shocking the young man since he thought the undead swordsman was already part of it. Cheryl then explained that to join their faction, you had to prove your loyalty to the darkness, and now he was free from his vow to never harm humans. With that, the first game expansion called Light vs. Dark officially kicked off. All players got the news that this would be a server-wide event, meaning returning the pendant led to the undead swordsman joining the Dark Faction, and the prologue of Chaos mentioned by Dongfeng Yixin began with him. The system then alerted him that his level 190 Celestial Boss Master would lead an undead army to attack the main city of Marui District, Haitian City, in 3 days. He also learned that Catherine the Cold Blood Moon, the level 185 Celestial Boss, would lead a vampire army to take Vermilion City, the capital of the Eastern District, in 3 days. At the same time, level 190 Solomon the Judgment Sin and his Sin army would attack Thunder City, the capital of the Sakura District. The player, thinking he'd help his master, got a bunch of siege alerts. But then, The system told him he was assigned to attack a third-tier town called Snowtown in the Romantic District in 3 days. Players were shocked to find out that Piercing River had entered the gold-tier domain. The S-rank mission, Siege and Conquer, made him the boss of the 5th wave attacking Snowtown, where winning would get him access to the demon god's treasure, while losing meant death. Cheryl was glad to see his student stay calm and wished him good luck for the upcoming battle. The Dark Swordsman returned the wish as his teacher vanished. Piercing River was eager to show his strength to the foes of Snowtown as a gold-level boss. Now that he hit the required level, our hero decided to switch up his gear. His title of Dark Master also boosted his health points by 250%. Seeing this made the young man feel like he was among the top 100 warriors of the Dark faction, but his actual rank was still pretty low. The disappointed player realized the Dark faction was packed with strong players before deciding to hit the hay. The next day, Wang Kai called to say how impressed he was to see Han as a siege boss. He could also check on the other battles. Wang Kai then warned his friend to be careful, since many players were heading to Snowtown to take him down. But as he logged back in, our hero caught the attention of a couple of adventurers. The scared players wanted to run away, but one of them disagreed. He said they got ready to face the Dark Swordsman to collect the bounty, so they should stick around. This got the rest of the group fired up to follow him and take on Piercing River. So, the players started to line up to take down the notorious player. Just as their swordsman got ready to strike first, the Dark Swordsman took him out with one swing, then went after the second player, and quickly finished off the third and fourth too. Piercing River then claimed that strategies mean nothing against his overwhelming strength. He then got a notification that his flame dagger sold for 2,147 gold coins and the swift boots for 112 gold coins at the Kingfing Town auction, which impressed Han. The system then let him know that the currency exchange was live, changing 1 gold coin to 193 yuan. With that, Piercing River earned 530,000 yuan. After that, our hero decided to grind for some experience before the siege kicked off. The protagonist reached the desolated field, where a level 50 elite monster called Dark Panther spotted him. Piercing River noticed this elite monster was tougher than the level 45 Lava Python, but the experience still wasn't a match for him. After a day of grinding, our hero hit level 41. But then, the system told him the mission's difficulty jumped to SS rank, leaving the shocked players thinking the system didn't want it to be easy. Dragon soaring 10,000 miles told the Dark Swordsman that the players in Snowtown had boosted their defense with a level 60 Dark Gold boss. This made him think that unless something unexpected happened, he could handle that Dark Gold boss. Soon after, the system said he should hurry back to his teacher in the Swamp of Ghosts, since he was about to lead his undead army. In the swamp, Cheryl had gathered his army of undead knights. The info panel for all the undead knights was filled with question marks, making them a total mystery. Piercing River was shocked he couldn't scout them with his skill Eye of Insight, meaning they were all at least 50 levels above him. Shirtle explained that he was stronger than those knights in life, and that they weren't fully continuous, like him, so they couldn't be true Revenant Knights. The undead swordsman then pointed out his student's dark army. It looked like it was made up of mindless monsters. These creatures were level 45 elite monsters called Water Imps, some of the weakest species in the Dark faction. Seeing this, the student asked his master for some of his undead knights, but the teacher refused because the rules didn't allow it. Our hero then asked the undead swordsman for anything that could help him in a tough spot, so he gave him an S-rank spell Scroll, Demon God Summoning, which could summon a god-level entity to the fight, saying he probably wouldn't need it for attacking Snowtown. Piercing River was so excited he felt ready to take on a main city by himself. But Cheryl warned him that the scroll was a double-edged sword, recalling a time when summoners got instantly eaten by the demon god, Ego, whom he had just summoned for being boring. Hearing this, the young man decided to be careful with this life-or-death gamble. The greedy protagonist then started asking the undead swordsman for more powerful items. But the annoyed teacher firmly said he wouldn't just hand over everything the student wanted, since his old mentor had passed away. So, keeping his cool, he suggested they head into battle, which the disappointed player agreed to. With that, the armies of darkness started their march. The Dark Swordsman took the chance to ask Cheryl what he thought about the Dark faction, which he saw as a revolution trying to take down those in charge. But if you think about it, that makes it an unholy force, since it's tied to a lot of evil symbols, according to Piercing River. Cheryl then pointed out that right and wrong aren't so clear-cut, since it's always the winners who write history and paint themselves as the good. Guys, this made the young, inexperienced guy think hard. Frail claimed to have met the most powerful undead and the most evil light rulers, saying their side wasn't completely good, as some demon gods were humans who supposedly betrayed their own kind. Piercing River saw this deep chat as a hint for future quests. When the armies reached the long grass plains, Cheryl said they had arrived at their spot, leaving his student puzzled. But the undead swordsman revealed a huge invisible barrier. As he opened the scroll, 180 undead knights said that only those strong enough could cross this barrier separating the continent. Just like that, the celestial boss broke down the barrier. Cheryl explained that once they crossed it, they'd be in another human kingdom's territory. The system then told him as he got to the other side that death penalties were doubled since he was in foreign territory. But that didn't bother Han since dying would make him lose everything anyway. Since they were in enemy land, the teacher decided to lead his student to the third-tier town, which made the student grateful. After some marching, our hero finally reached his destination. Piercing River was pumped and confident about winning, so he warned the players of Snowtown to shiver in his presence. Cheryl, happy to see his student excited, wished him luck so they could meet back at the entrance of the Demon God Treasury for rewards. The curious student asked his master about this mysterious place. Cheryl explained that it's where the loot of the demon gods was kept, including skills, items, and hidden class transfer certificates, and that he could only choose one item as a reward. Piercing River started imagining the fortune he could make selling those certificates, not to mention the other treasures. So, wanting to see his teacher go, he politely dismissed him, leaving Cheryl speechless. Then, he told the water imps to set up their camps and to alert him if they were attacked. In the meantime, our hero decided to level up in the nearby forest, so he headed into the snowy mountains. Suddenly, he spotted something not far away. It was a level 55 elite monster called the Snowy Monster Bear. The player couldn't help but notice how much stronger it was compared to the Dark Panthers from before, making him think that second-class advancement happens at level 50. So Beast and Man charged at each other. The Snowy Bear monster went for the first hit, but Piercing River countered with his signature move, followed by a frenzied slash. With just a bit more effort, our hero took down the level 55 elite monster, snagging 14,000 experience points. To his surprise, even a low monster like the Snowy Bear dropped a B-rank skill called Snowball, which was only for mages. Suddenly, he got a system alert that his camp was under attack by some local players. They had already started their assault. One of them was overpowering a dark soldier, but then the Dark General showed up out of nowhere and took him down easily. Shocked, players started chatting in French, but our hero understood thanks to the system translating it. The local players launched their attack, but barely did any damage. This left the Romantic District adventurers stunned, struggling to believe their gold-level enemy was actually another player. An evil grin spread across the hero's face as he used the Dark Armor's power to deal huge damage to the players and slow them down for 3 seconds. Meanwhile, some players were relieved to have hidden from the Dark Swordsman. Piercing River thought there weren't enough players, when suddenly a sneaky blade came out of nowhere, aiming for his neck. But the protagonist dodged the sneak attack just in time. His attacker, the level 34 Shadow Assassin, known as Ghost King, expected nothing less. The players were shocked to see Ghost King appear on the battlefield. Piercing River realized that the Shadow Assassin must be one of the toughest in the Romantic District. Then, Ghost King vanished, only to reappear and hit the protagonist for 4,310 points of damage. Piercing River looked like he was in pain. Ghost King then struck the Dark Swordsman's side. The players were excited to see Piercing River on the defensive against the Shadow Assassin's speed, so they decided to use their healers to support their friend. Everyone praised Ghost King as he attacked non-stop, but everything was going according to the protagonist's plan. Knowing their fight was being streamed live worldwide, Piercing River wanted all the viewers to feel hopeful. And just when the players were feeling confident, he turned it into despair by stabbing the Shadow Assassin in the chest. Just like that, the Dark Swordsman took down Ghost King, earning 16,356 experience points. Everyone looked crushed, and no one could believe it. With that, Piercing River reached level 42. Seeing this, the attackers started running for their lives, scared of this unusual player. Piercing River then told the water imps that no one would likely attack them soon, and he would head back to the wild to level up. After 2 days, the siege battle kicked off. His dark army split its attack into 5 waves, starting at 10 a.m. If not, all stats would drop to 8%. The system was trying to manage the attack, but Piercing River just hoped he wouldn't run into any strong players. Then the system notified him that all other sieges had started. It was his turn now, so he sent the first wave into battle. Leading the charge was the level 20 bronze boss named Bug. Bug and his crew rushed straight at Snowtown, but the defending players weren't impressed by the low-level monsters. Just like that, the bronze boss was taken down, showing the general that most players in Snowtown were above level 20. So he ordered the second wave to go, led by the level 25 bronze boss named Seth, but the players stood firm, showing no fear. The third wave was launched, and it started to get tough for the defenders. Just as the Dark Swordsman was about to send in the fourth wave, the system warned him to wait 5 minutes or risk weakening his army. Dragon soaring 10,000 miles revealed that Piercing River's siege in the Foreign District was being broadcast everywhere, and Han promised to bring pride to the Eastern District. After 5 minutes, the level 40 silver boss, known as Bloodaxe, led the fourth wave. The defending players were totally overpowered by the high-level monsters, so they decided to retreat since they were outmatched. But one young archer was set on holding her ground. Just like that, an arrow pierced the monster's head. Piercing River couldn't tell if the archer was a player or a boss, but he was still blown away by her damage. City guards started pouring out of the town, and in just 20 minutes, the fourth wave was completely wiped out. It was time to launch the final wave, led by Piercing River, who was eager for this fight. With that, the Dark Swordsman charged in, aiming to take the enemy commander hostage. The players were scared to see the famous player rushing at them. The archer was frustrated to see the adventurers losing hope because of Piercing River, so she ordered her troops to attack him non-stop, not giving him a chance to fight back. This boosted the defenders' confidence since they had multiple gold rank bosses on their side, making them jump back into the fight. Harold, a level 35 swift swordsman, tried to hit Piercing River but got hit with a flying kick to the face. Just like that, Harold fell, giving the protagonist 16,531 experience points. Piercing River then activated Warzone to boost his and his minions' attack while weakening the enemy for 180 seconds. The Water Imps were now powered up by their master, turning the battle in their favor, as Piercing River and his troops broke through the enemy lines. With that, a lot of players went down to the bloodthirsty sword. The adventurers were stunned by the Dark Swordsman's power, which just kept growing, making him look like a demon to them. So, after stacking enough power, the Divine Sword boosted its user's damage by 20%, making him a target for strong players, just like his intro said. But then, a mysterious figure charged at the young powerhouse. Level 50 gold boss and the mayor's brilliant son, Frostblade Lanta, rode in on his unicorn, determined to take down the Dark Swordsman. Piercing River had to use the ring's power, since he couldn't dodge the incoming attack. Just like that, our hero lost 50,700 life points from the gold boss's Frost Spear, which also slowed him down for 5 seconds. Frostblade Lanta's speed and attack made him a real challenge for Piercing River. But the gold boss, who wanted to crush the Eastern District Spirit, boosted the defenders' morale just by being there. Piercing River was green with envy seeing Frostblade Lanta on a unicorn while he was still crawling on the ground. This made the young cavalier tease him for not having a mountain to ride to their district. But Piercing River didn't let it get to him. Instead, he used Terrifying Presence to deal melee damage, equal to his attack points, to all nearby enemies, and slow them down for 3 seconds, putting Frostblade Lanta in a tough spot. But he claimed this skill was just for crushing weaklings. So Piercing River used Grasp of the Undead to hold the Unicorn Rider for 2 seconds, determined to knock him off his mount. Just then, Frostblade Lanta activated his Ice Armor skill. The mount's toughness broke Evil Trampling's control, but didn't stop its rider from taking 25,694 damage, which annoyed the Dark Swordsman. So he decided to get straight to the point and ordered his Dark Army to surround the gold boss, making Frostblade Lanta's Frost charge useless. The Dark Swordsman wanted to give his enemy a quick death, but after thinking it over, he told the Water Imps to take him on and disfigure him. Frostblade Lanta, expecting a fair duel, was furious at such cheap tactics, and so the Dark Army started closing in on him. The gold boss tried to fend them off, but there were too many Water Imps for him to handle. Just like that, Snowtown lost its first gold-tier boss. This win only got him 1,000 reputation and 500,000 experience points, leveling him up to 44 as he realized the rewards were lower, since it wasn't a solo victory. The archer started to cry in rage as she watched her beloved brother fall in such a disgraceful way. Phoenix wanted to rush in and fight the Dark Swordsman right away, but her masked friend reminded her that the rules only allowed it once he entered the town, and so Piercing River finally broke into the town. But to his surprise, he learned he would have to face level 50 gold boss, Snow Guardian Phoenix, and level 60 dark gold boss, Frost Fury Trow, who led the 5th wave of defense. Both sides were nearly wiped out, but now our hero had to deal with elite guards, high-level players, plus a gold boss and a dark gold boss. This time, Piercing River had to take on two bosses without his late teacher and Cantor. He was all on his own now, and Soviet asked his two late friends to watch him from the afterlife as his biggest fight was about to start. But just then, a flaming arrow flew out from an archer who was fed up with the cocky traitor. Even though he dodged, the arrow still hit him for 341 damage. The level 50 gold boss, Wind and Snow Guardian Phoenix, was hell-bent on taking down the Dark Swordsman to avenge her brother. So, the archers unleashed a storm of arrows, hitting both our hero and his troops. The archers were so fierce that Piercing River realized his water imps would get wiped out fast if he didn't act. So, he charged up the hill to distract the enemy. Our hero dashed ahead, deflecting arrows with his sword. Piercing River quickly closed in on the archers, who thought he'd use Evil Trampling. But to their shock, he unleashed Evil Presence, hitting nearby units for full damage and slowing them down by 20% while still airborne. As soon as the young man landed, he started taking out enemy archers, but suddenly 3 golden arrows shot his way. The Wind and Snow Guardian Phoenix easily dealt a ton of damage to her brother's killer. Piercing River, who just used a healing potion, was confident he could take her on directly, but with all the players interfering and the other boss lurking, it was too risky. So he decided to use his soldiers to buy some time, ordering them to take out all enemies. With that, he activated Warzone to boost his attack power and his allies while lowering the enemy's firepower for 3 minutes. Piercing River then used one of the elite guards as a shield to dodge an arrow, which annoyed the gold boss, who was about to get hit by a water imp. Seeing this, she quickly shot her arrow, stabbing it deep into its throat. The Wind and Snow Guardian then commanded her forces to wipe out the enemy, claiming the Dark Swordsman couldn't escape. Piercing River managed to take down one enemy, but just then, the Ghost King stabbed him in the back with Fatal Strike, dealing minor damage and freezing him for a moment. Piercing River was frustrated to face the Shadow Assassin again. The Ghost King then hit the protagonist back for 12,634 damage before vanishing with Shadow Stealth. With that, he decided to bail. The sight of the cocky Dark Swordsman backing down made some watchers in the Eastern District feel satisfied and happy. They were sure they'd see him fall with half his health gone while facing 2 bosses. Meanwhile, in a fancy meeting room, the old man felt let down. But the other suits reassured him that there were still plenty of great players in the Eastern District and that the prideful young man was causing his own downfall by drawing too much attention. Yet, the old man wanted to wait for the final result, hoping to see Han pull off the impossible. Piercing River took down an elite guard, earning 20,000 experience points. Just then, the tired young man got the news that his entire army was wiped out. Piercing River then got hit with an arrow in the back for 424 damage. The player saw that his health bar was almost empty, but just as the Wind and Snow Guardian was about to land the final blow, a huge crowd of players suddenly appeared, standing between her and her target. Phoenix said she wanted to take revenge on her brother's killer herself. The players all charged at him at once, each going for the kill. This caused the gold boss's arrow to hit the wrong player's head. The Dark Swordsman was thrilled by this greedy move before using Evil Trampling on one adventurer, boosting his speed and freezing the target for 2 seconds, plus dealing 31,265 damage. With Piercing River escaping to the 2nd floor, everyone chased after him. Suddenly, a villager yelled for help, spotting an intruder on the same floor. They lost track of the protagonist as he jumped out the window. Now, they had to search the building while he made his getaway. The players found the broken window and realized he was hiding in another house. Some thought he might have ditched the mission, but it was unlikely since the system would hit him hard. Viewers were split, with some cheering for him, while others wanted him to fail. After 20 minutes, the enemy still couldn't find him, which frustrated Ghost King when someone approached. A non-playable character named Commoner Bob asked for help with an Eastern player in his house. Hearing this, the Shadow Assassin told Bob to hurry and take him there. But the player was confused when he was led to the back of an alley, and suddenly, Commoner Bob stabbed him in the back, dealing 47,416 damage. Just like that, Ghost King used his last breath to curse the Dark Swordsman who fooled him. The players had no clue about the protagonist's ability to hide his identity, so he decided to take them out one by one as his health fully restored. Commoner Bob took down his 2nd player, then his 3rd. But then, all the players realized their target was using the fake name Commoner Bob when someone finally found him. He tried to keep his cover, but one of his victims had exposed him long ago. So, the protagonist revealed himself, saying players were only a threat when he was up against the Wind and Snow Guardian. With that, players Mark and Nicholas met their end. As he died, Alan was shocked to see the Dark Swordsman fully recover his health. But just then, Phoenix found our hero, ready to shoot her arrows. She fired 3 arrows at him, but Piercing River easily deflected them with his sword. Now, Piercing River was set to take on the Gold Boss since all the players were gone. The Wind and Snow Guardian, furious, shot her arrow, but the Dark Swordsman rushed at her anyway and used Evil Trampling to stun her for a second, dealing 26,589 damage followed by a frenzied slash.